Chapter 51, Part 1. However, reason told them that the two great sacred lands asked them to give up the title of the 9 Transcendent Level sects for their own good. Otherwise, they might face the disaster of extinction in the future. Of course, the current 9 Transcendent Level sects think they are strong enough. They can still participate in this year's competition for the Immortal List. With enough strength, there is still a chance to become one of the 9 Transcendent Level sections. However, who can say, except for Heavenly Jade Sacred Land and the Ancient Star Sect? Can they compete with the ancient clans and hidden sects that have been passed down for at least millions of years? The news of the restart of the Immortal List was naturally passed back to the Holy Demon Mountain. The true spirit Taoist personally walked out of the ancestral land and descended on the Holy Demon Mountain to summon all the elders and palace masters of the 7 peaks to discuss major events. The hall of the Holy Demon Palace was full of people, and almost all the elders who were still in the Holy Demon Mountain came. Those who did not come were mostly because they had important matters to attend to and had already gone out. Looking around, there are more than 130 elders from the 7 peaks of the Holy Demon Mountain, and the lowest one is at the early stage of the infant transformation realm. There are many more people than when the Xinyu sect attacked the Holy Demon Mountain a few months ago. Grand Palace Master Duanmu Yin and True Spirit Taoist sat in the front, and the palace masters of the 6 palaces sat on both sides. The elders of the other 7 peaks sat in the palace master's seat below. They looked at the Grand Palace Master and True Spirit Taoist quietly. The removal of the names of the 9 Transcendent Level sects is a big deal. Not long ago, the big man from Heavenly Jade Sacred Land who was responsible for persuasion just left. True Spirit Taoist walked out of the ancestral land and convened this meeting. The Grand Palace Master glanced at everyone, his face calm, and said, "The names of the 9 Transcendent Level sects have been removed. Thousands of years ago, the efforts of the ancestors of the Holy Demon Mountain have gone to waste. What do you think?" Hearing this, several elders were indignant and dissatisfied with the actions of the 2 great sacred lands. Just a few words deprived the ancestors of their hard work. In order to be selected into the 9 Transcendent Level sects, the ancestors shed a lot of blood. Grand Palace Master, I think that although the name of the 9 Transcendent Level sect still exists, it is actually dead in name only. It is a good thing to be removed. The Tian Palace Master was not in a hurry at all. He shook his head and smiled slightly, saying, "Oh." The Grand Palace Master smiled, looked at the Palace Master Tian and asked, "Palace Master Tian, what do you mean?" Palace Master Tian said, "Although we have a deep foundation in the Holy Demon Mountain and are not afraid of anything, but Heavenly Origin Saint Master, our philosophy is the word hide. Although we are not afraid, we must know how to hide. If we insist on retaining the name of the 9 Transcendent Level sects, when this session of the Immortal List is opened, our sect will definitely become a thorn in the eyes and flesh of those ancient clans and sects who have emerged. In that case, in order to protect itself, the sect has to expose its strength and show its foundation to shock them. In this way, isn't it contrary to the sect's philosophy? If you put all your foundation in the open for people to see, how can you continue to hide in the future?" Palace Master Wang Yue took over the conversation and nodded. "Yes, what Senior Brother Tian said makes sense. The 9 Transcendent Level sects are the most powerful sects in the world. The title of Level Sect is indeed very important. Over the past few thousand years, because of the title of Immortal Sect, our sect has indeed been able to do things much more smoothly. When many sects heard that it was the Holy Demon Mountain, one of the 9 Transcendent Level sects, they immediately cooperated and were very obedient. But if we have to keep showing our cards and go head-to-head with those ancient families and secluded sects just to keep the title of 9 Transcendent Level sects, I don't think it's worth it. If the Heavenly Origin Saint Master is still alive, he will also think that this is inappropriate and violates the purpose of the sect." The Grand Palace Master nodded with a smile. The opinions of the Tian Palace Master and the Wangyue Palace Master were exactly what he wanted. Yes, the title of 9 Transcendent Level sects is very important, but the sect's beliefs are more important. On the surface, the Holy Demon Mountain has been established for tens of thousands of years, but it is only ranked 6th among the 9 Transcendent Level sects. But this is just a superficial phenomenon. Now, Daxu is about to undergo a drastic change, and many ancient families and secluded sects have appeared one after another. Since they want the title of 9 Transcendent Level sects, just give it to them. There is no need to fight to the death and expose your own strength. In the future, although Shengma Mountain is no longer one of the 9 Transcendent Level sects, its strength and foundation are there. The newly promoted 9 Transcendent Level sects. No matter who it is, if they dare to bully Shengma Mountain under the banner of 9 Transcendent Level sects, they can only be said to be ignorant of the times. An elder of Xianin Palace stood up, with reluctance on his face and anger in his heart, and said, "Grand Palace Master, True Spirit Uncle, Palace Masters, we are not angry about this. It's that the two great sacred lands actually don't take us seriously and come to lobby Heavenly Jade Sacred Elder Land is even more arrogant and looks down on us. The Xianin Palace Master glanced at the elders of his own peak, who actually had such childish thoughts, and began to scold. Have you forgotten the sect beliefs that the Tian Palace Master and the Wangyue Palace Master just talked about? I am not angry even though I have a bad temper, but you took the lead in opposing it. Being low-key is the kingly way, and it is just right that the enemy looks down on us. The more they look down on us, the easier it is for us to kill them back. We in the Holy Demon Mountain are just waiting for those powerful tribes and sects to look down on us. If you have the ability, come and try, and see if we don't overturn their nests. When Elder Wuya heard the last sentence, he also showed he smiled and said, I am stupid. Indeed, if you are angry about this, it means you have no confidence in your sect and look down on yourself. The Grand Palace Master smiled and nodded, saying, okay, everyone has heard what the Palace Masters and Elders said just now. As they said, although the name is important, the sect's belief is more important. Others can look down on us, but we must look up to ourselves. The Holy Demon Mountain does not cause trouble, nor is it afraid of trouble. The last time the Star Ancient Sect invaded my sect, it was not that I did not want to take revenge, but the time has not come yet. The Grand Palace Master's words made these hundreds of years old guys excited and completely regained their confidence in the sect. Chapter 51, Part 2. His words implied that the sect had a deep foundation. I am not afraid of anyone. It is precisely because we follow the heavenly origin Saint Master's way of living in disgrace that our sect has been able to stand on this great land for tens of thousands of years. A tall tree attracts the wind. Without divine weapons, our sect cannot be too conspicuous. After all, no boss likes his subordinates to be more powerful than him and steal his limelight. The true spirit Taoist, who had been silent all this time, slowly spoke with a smile on his face. Chapter 52, Part 1. He was very pleased that everyone could recognize the sect's beliefs and not do foolish things. It is also because we have preserved our strength that the sect has not encountered any major disasters. Those who are stronger than us on the surface look down on us, and those who are similar to us on the surface cannot beat us in a real fight. So, it is better to keep a low profile. Hiding one's shortcomings is a virtue. The ancestor is honest with me. Everyone laughed after hearing the explanation of true spirit Taoist. Go Dao has always been the tradition of Shengma Mountain. The 130 elders sitting here now are at least in the early stage of the infant transformation realm on the surface. But who is really in the early stage of the infant transformation realm? If you don't hide your realm in Shengma Mountain, you will not have the confidence to speak. It's embarrassing to say that you are a disciple of so-and-so. The Grand Palace Master said, since everyone agrees, let them make a fuss about this immortal list. We Shengma Mountain will not participate. Everyone nodded when he heard it. True Spirit Taoist said, everyone can practice with peace of mind. If you hide your realm more, you will have the confidence to walk in the world in the future. Yes. The elders replied with a smile. Afterwards, at the signal of the Grand Palace Master, the elders stood up and left the meeting one after another. At this time, only the true spirit Taoist, the Grand Palace Master, and the Sixth Palace Master were left in the Confidence Hall. The Master of Samsara glanced at the Grand Master and the true spirit Taoist and said, Brother, why did you stay with us? What else do you want to discuss? The Grand Master said, Of course, it's about the matter of the ancient star sect that I just mentioned. Hearing this, the Master of Xianin, who had the worst temper, raised his eyebrows and said excitedly, Brother, are you going to deal with Sacred Land? The Master of Wangyue frowned. Brother Wuji should be more careful with what he says. You are hundreds of years old and still so rude. The Master of Xianin scratched his head awkwardly and said again, Brother, do you have a plan? Are you going to deal with the ancient star sect? The Grand Master smiled slightly and said, I don't have a plan, but a big shot will return to the sect recently. After I told him about this, he has already gone to the ancient star sect. Already gone? When these words came out, even the usually taciturn Master of Dumo looked over in surprise. What kind of big shot has such a bad temper that he directly rushed to the ancient star sect? That's the sacred land of Ji-Dao. The Grand Master looked at Chu Tian, who had been staying out of it. Chu Tian was stunned for a moment, and then he had a guess in his mind, and asked tentatively, Could it be my father? His father Chu Yuan has been away from the sect for 30 years. Except for occasionally contacting him through the sound transmission jade stone, there is almost no other news. Even where he went, Chu Tian didn't know. The only thing he could be sure of was that he was not in Daxu. Who else in the entire Holy Demon Mountain has a worse temper than your father? In terms of temper, your Uncle Wuji has to call him Big Brother. The Grand Palace Master laughed out loud, and even he himself didn't expect it. When Chu Yuan learned that the sect was almost tricked, he turned around and rushed to the Xingqian Ancient Sect. The Tian Palace Master said speechlessly. 30 years have passed, and he is still the same. In terms of cultivation, he is the most tolerant, he has the biggest temper, and he is the strongest. The Lord of Samsara curled his lips. If I had stayed in Zizai Palace since I was a child, I could also. Don't act like an innocent person, you with heavenly grade talent. The Lord of Tian Palace smiled softly, glanced at the Lord of Samsara Palace, and responded unceremoniously. The Lord of Samsara Palace was so angry that his teeth itched, and he wanted to strangle this guy to death on the spot. The Lord of Xianin Palace also glanced at him and said, Brother Xuanji should be more restrained. After all, the talent is there, right, everyone? The words and deeds were all secretly referring to the old story of the blood corpse demon race, secret realm. Humph. The Lord of Samsara Palace was silent, sneering in his heart. Now he has broken through to the peak of the heavenly evolution realm, and is only one step away from the asking Dao realm. You old guys can be proud of yourself. When I get some benefits from Zizai Palace again, I will roll you all up and make you lose your way. When I have enough cultivation, I will definitely find an excuse to compete with you. Then I will let you old bones see what real power is. Chu Tian was speechless after learning the truth. This old guy always said that the sect's affairs had nothing to do with him. Don't squeeze me, but once the sect really has something, he is still impulsive. That's the Sacred Land. He is so old, but he doesn't even consider his mother. Oh, by the way, his mother is also impatient. Don't worry, Chu Yuan went to the Xingqian ancient sect just to observe. He won't do anything if there is no chance. After all, the other party is the Sacred Land. No matter how tough he is, he knows that reckless behavior will only lead to death. The Grand Palace Master said that he was still very confident in Chu Yuan's strength. When he left 30 years ago, he was already in the middle stage of the Dao realm. Now 30 years have passed, and his real strength is probably not worse than that of Master True Spirit. Chu Tian said, I hope he can really hold back. What if a high-ranking member of the ancient star sect goes out alone? After hearing this, the Grand Palace Master and the others nodded. That's right, that old guy definitely can't resist such a temptation. How can a ferocious wolf bear to watch a sheep pass by without pouncing on it? Okay, let Chu Yuan decide for himself. I believe he won't do anything out of line. Since our sect is not participating in the competition for the immortal ranking, we may face the troubles of the new 9 Transcendent Level sections. The Grand Palace Master continued, those ancient clans and hidden sects have been secluded for many years, and their industries are few and far between. In order to quickly develop the strength of the sect and enhance its reputation, they may attack the former 9 Transcendent Level sections, stepping on the former 9 Transcendent Level sects to rise to power, highlighting the prestige of their race, and then taking all the resources of the defeated sects for themselves. This kind of thing will definitely happen. Therefore, the sect's first task is to strengthen the sect's formation first and activate more formations handed down by our ancestors, just in case. Those ancient clans have many means. Last time, Xinyu sect used the law treasure of the Star Ancient sect to break the formation, easily broke through our sect's low-grade holy formation from the inside. This time we must be prepared. Chapter 52, Part 2. Chu Tian said, Zizai Palace has an isolation array called Shattering Void Array, which can be used as the eye of the sect's array and can resist the erosion of most array-breaking law treasure spells. Chapter 53, Part 1. The Grand Palace Master smiled and said, Very good. The sect itself has countermeasures, but double insurance is always safer. Tian. The Palace Master of Tian immediately responded, Leave this matter to our Tian Peak. I will handle it with junior brother Chu Tian. The Tian Peak is a mountain that specializes in the formation of the sect. Most of the disciples on Tian Peak have talents in formation. Well, in that case, let's wait and see, and wait for the results of this session of the immortal ranking. After walking out of the hall, Chu Tian was about to fly away on his sword. The Palace Master of Samsara hurriedly chased him out and said enthusiastically, Junior brother Chu Tian, let the uncle come. Before he finished speaking, he took out a long sword, pointed his finger, and the long sword instantly enlarged and landed steadily at the feet of the two. Chu Tian looked at him and asked, Uncle Master, are you planning to stay at Zizai Palace for a while? The Lord of the Samsara Palace glanced at the Lord of the Tian Palace and others who had gone far away and said, It is indeed necessary to stay for a while. Uncle Master may be able to break through the realm recently. Oh. Chu Tian looked at him. After the cultivator reaches the Xuanfu realm, the speed of cultivation will be greatly slowed down. This is also the reason why many people have to wait for hundreds of years to enter the threshold of the Tianyan realm. And those who are not talented, even if they practice for hundreds of years, they will be stuck at the perfect level of the Xuanfu realm or the perfect level of the infant transformation realm and cannot make any progress. Although the conditions in Zizai Palace are excellent, the Lord of the Samsara Palace should not practice so fast. Before leaving, He was only at the 8th layer of the Tianyan realm, and he became the perfect level of the Tianyan realm when he came back half a year later. Now, he is going to break through again? Or is it the threshold of the Dao Dao realm? In this Dharma-ending age, how can it be so easy to break through the Dao Dao realm? Chu Tian concluded in his heart. This old guy is bragging. My father is coming home soon. Aren't you afraid of him? Chu Tian kindly reminded him. After all, the Lord of Samsara had been beaten badly before, and his father didn't hold back. The Lord of Samsara subconsciously took a step back, and then thought that he couldn't lose face. He cleared his throat and said arrogantly, "What am I afraid of? Your father is not a beast in the mountains. Can he be unreasonable?" He added, "I will leave after I break through the realm of asking questions. Your father is busy blocking people at the gate of the Star Ancient Sect. It will probably take a while before I come back. I should be able to avoid him." His voice became less and less confident. "I hope you can really miss him." Chu Tian smiled and shook his head and said no more. If they really met, the Lord of Samsara would definitely find help. After the two stepped on the sword and returned to the Free Palace, the Lord of Samsara glanced at the innate peach tree in the distance. He didn't know what kind of tree it was, but he could feel the rich spirit chi of Zizai Palace. This tree should be the key. The fruit on the tree also looked good. After watching the Lord of Samsara enter the cave mansion, Chu Tian also unlocked the restrictions of the cave mansion and went in to take a look. Shihao and Xin just opened their eyes. The two looked a little confused. After 3 months of deep cultivation, they were not very adapted to their realm. Moreover, where was the fairyland seen in the depths of the sea of consciousness? The Yanhuang realm was vast and boundless, and there seemed to be no such fairyland. That was simply the heavenly palace. It seemed that only immortals could live there. Seeing Chu Tian walk in, the two hurriedly performed the disciple salute and said, "Master." "Yes." Chu Tian smiled and nodded, looking at the two. His eyes slightly lit up. Name, Shihao. Age, 20 years old. Realm, Juden realm 2nd layer heaven. On the surface, Juden realm 9th layer heaven. Actual, identity. Senior disciple of Zizai Palace. Cultivation talent, Saint rank apex level. Physique, Sacred body of Samsara, original immortal chi. Skills, Emperor Sutra of Samsara, Emperor grade. Taiching Xianjian Ju, Emperor grade. Taiyangquan Sutra, Emperor grade. Void Turtle Breath Ju, no level. Divine ability, None Law weapon. Golden Sacred Sword, venerable level. Luck, gold. Name, Xinqing. Age, 23 years old. Realm, Juden realm 9th layer heaven. On the surface, Xuanfu realm 4th layer heaven. Actual, identity, reincarnation of the remnant soul of the ancient profound emperor, 2nd disciple of Zizai Palace. Cultivation talent, Saint rank apex level. Physique, Ancient Xian immortal body, original immortal chi. Skills, Ancient profound emperor sutra, incomplete. Taiching Xianjian Ju, Emperor grade. Divine ability, Ancient Xian Wuji Dao, incomplete. Law weapon, Ancient Xian immortal seal, replica. Luck, gold. Yes, Shihao's realm has been upgraded by 6 small levels. Xinqing only upgraded by 3 levels because he is in Xuanfu realm, but it is also very rare. Chu Tian was very satisfied with the effect of the immortal river water. The two of them not only broke through the realm on the surface, but also changed from the inside out. The body was soaked in the immortal river water for 3 months, thoroughly cleansed, and transformed from the inside out. The foundation is several times stronger than before. It can be said that at the same realm, they were definitely not comparable to themselves 3 months ago. Chu Tian asked, "Do you feel any changes?" Shihao clenched his fists, and his heart was still very shocked. He was actually already in the 9th layer of the Juden realm. He couldn't help but admire Chu Tian more, and at the same time he was very moved. The master actually gave them such a precious thing to use. Master! Xinqing had never called these 2 words so willingly. He looked at Chu Tian and said, "My ancient profound immortal body is perfect." As he said that, he activated the ancient profound immortal body, and a small sky appeared above his head immediately. That was the physical phenomenon. At this time, Xinqing looked like a war god standing tall, surrounded by a dark yellow aura. In the sky above his head, every move seemed to show the shadow of the ancient profound emperor. Xinqing was excited, and even he himself did not expect that Chu Tian could help him restore the origin of his physical body so easily. It was because of his memories of his previous life that he knew that it was very difficult to repair something like the origin. Unless you are the human race Emperor Venerable, you must rely on the treasures of heaven and earth. Obviously, the liquid that Chu Tian asked them to soak was a very rare treasure of heaven and earth. Very good. Although Chu Tian knew it a long time ago, he still nodded happily. In the future, you will definitely become the new ancient profound emperor. Xinqing nodded vigorously, because he was the reincarnation of the residual soul of the ancient profound emperor. In this life, he must set foot on the road to becoming an emperor again and fight for the throne. Shihao said, "Master, I can feel that the origin of the samsara sacred body seems to have something more, but I can't tell. Chapter 53, Part 2. Xinqing said, my ancient Xian immortal body origin also has a little bit of something that I can't explain. Origin immortal qi. Chapter 54, Part 1. This thing is mysterious and unpredictable, unlike anything in the human world. It seems that I have seen it in my memory of my previous life. But the memory is very vague and I can't remember it clearly. Chu Tian shook his head. He didn't know what the origin immortal qi was. But when the realm is higher, the effect of the origin immortal qi will definitely show up, and then you will know it naturally. What is certain is that the physiques of the two people are now far beyond the original samsara sacred body and the ancient Xian immortal body, surpassed the predecessors. Chu Tian took out a piece of gold paper and handed it to Xinqing. Xinqing took it and looked at it, his eyes widened, looking at Chu Tian in disbelief. The gold paper was engraved with ancient and obscure cultivation methods, as well as the experience of a certain strong man. This is the ancient Xian Sutra. How could the master have the ancient Xian Sutra? Chu Tian knew what Xinqing wanted to ask, but he couldn't tell the real reason, and was about to speak. Xinqing suppressed the doubts in his heart first, bowed and said, thank you, master. He didn't ask more, and he didn't need to ask more. After a few months of getting along, although Chu Tian was still very mysterious in Xuanqing's eyes, but he was really good to them. Zizai Palace was like a fairyland, and holy medicine could be seen everywhere. Chu Tian did not restrict them from using any resources, as long as they did not overdo it. Even the spiritual root of heaven and earth, innate peach tree that he had only seen in ancient books in his previous life. Chu Tian was never stingy with its fruits, and let them pick one as fruit when they were thirsty, saying that it could prolong their lives. Such a good master, no matter where the ancient Xinjing came from. Even if it was obtained by digging up the ancestral graves of the previous life, he believed in Chu Tian. Yeah. Chu Tian nodded with satisfaction and smiled with relief. With such disciples, will there be no one to take care of you in your old age in the future? They are responsible for becoming stronger, and I am responsible for surviving. Chu Tian said, 3 months ago, the ancient profound emperor's tomb appeared in Daxu Cangzhou. Xinqing's body trembled violently, and he looked at Chu Tian. He knew in his heart that it must be the origin of his ancient Xian immortal body that was completed. The Taoism left in the emperor's tomb in his previous life was triggered, which made the ancient profound emperor's tomb reappear in the world. In this way, he didn't have to work hard to find it himself. Originally, Xinqing knew that the origin of his ancient Xian immortal body was difficult to complete. He planned to take the initiative to explore the emperor's tomb after his cultivation was enhanced. Now it seems that this step can be omitted. Master, I want to dig up that tomb. Xinqing said directly. Chu Tian nodded and said, I will take you there, but not now. The emperor's mausoleum is full of divine power, so I can probably get in. But under the divine power, it is difficult not to be noticed by the powerful sacred land hiding in the dark. If they find out, things will become very difficult. Therefore, when the divine power of the emperor's mausoleum weakens a little, I will accompany you to dig up your ancestral grave. Although Chu Tian did not personally go to the ancient profound emperor's mausoleum to investigate, he could also guess. There must be undercurrents there now, and many powerful sacred land forces are hiding. These sacred lands have deep backgrounds and many means. In the case of uncertainty, Chu Tian thought it would be better to wait. Once he was discovered after entering the imperial mausoleum, he would inevitably expose his strength and kill people. That might involve the holy demon mountain, which was not the result he wanted to see. Anyway, it was okay to wait. Xinqing wanted it. He would definitely help get it, and even the sacred land could not stop him. Thank you, master. Xinqing nodded heavily, full of confidence in Chu Tian. Master and junior brother Xinqing. Sure Hao looked at the two of them. He seemed to understand, but he didn't seem to understand completely. Seeing Sure Hao looking at him with a puzzled look, Xinqing looked at him and smiled. Great master. I am a reincarnation of the emperor's soul. He confessed to Sure Hao that he felt a lot more relieved to be able to tell the deepest secret in his heart. Besides, Chu Tian and Sure Hao were both trustworthy people. 23 years had passed since his reincarnation. He had been lonely and helpless, always worried about the secret being leaked, and lived cautiously. Now, he finally had two people he could completely trust, and he felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Sure Hao's eyes widened when he heard his words. Emperor Soul? The residual soul of Emperor Venerable? Xinqing nodded. Yes, the ancient profound emperor was my previous life, but now I am no longer that person. In this life, I am a brand new self. But there is one thing that is the same as in the previous life. In this life, I will step on the throne of God again and reach the peak of the extreme way. His tone was firm. As an Emperor Venerable, he should have the ambition to sweep the world. Every Emperor Venerable has never been defeated in his life. This is one of the basic conditions for them to step on the road to God. Invincible heart. Invincible way. Only then can you become an invincible human race emperor venerable. Sure Hao smiled. His expression was equally confident, looking at Xianqing and said, Junior brother Xianqing, if one day you ascend to the throne, and I have also completed the practice of sacred body, we must have a contest. It is rare for the great accomplishment sacred body and emperor venerable to be in the same world, and there are even fewer opportunities to fight. So I want to verify whether the great accomplishment sacred body can really fight with emperor venerable. Xianqing was full of confidence in himself and said, then the two of us will make an agreement under the witness of master. In the future, I will be emperor venerable, and you will be the great accomplishment sacred body. We must fight it out. Sure Hao nodded heavily and smiled happily. Okay. Chu Tian's mouth corners rose. He liked the personalities of these two disciples very much. In the future, they will definitely give him a surprise and give Shengma Mountain a surprise. Perhaps thousands or tens of thousands of years later, both of them will become the ultimate foundation of Shengma Mountain and guard it in the ancestral tomb. Afterwards, Chu Tian asked Sure Hao and Xianqing to consolidate their realm. The realm of the two people has crossed too far, and they must consolidate their foundation again and lay a solid foundation to truly be invincible at the same level. However, the water of the immortal river is extraordinary, and the foundation of the two people is already quite solid. Although the realm has been improved greatly, it is not a big deal. This is because Chu Tian has extremely high requirements and hopes that they can go further. Cannot repeat the mistakes of the predecessors, must surpass the predecessors at the same level. Surpass far. There can be no possibility of failure. After the two left, Chu Tian also filled a large tank of immortal river water. Chapter 54, Part 2. Open the cave mansion band to prevent others from breaking in, then take off clothes and jump in. Chapter 55, Part 1. The disciples had enjoyed it, and it was time for him, the master, to have it. What he longed for was immortality, to live forever, and becoming an immortal was the only way. The water of the immortal river came from the immortal world and contained immortal qi, which had a miraculous effect even on his realm. It was even more effective than for Sure Hao and Xianqing, who were at a lower realm. After just a while of cultivation, affected by the immortal qi contained in the water of the immortal river, Chu Tian felt that the bottleneck of his realm had loosened. He was about to enter a new realm. 3 days later, in the sky above the star ancient Sect, a figure fell like a meteor. He smashed the void to pieces, and the golden light shone all over his body. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't stabilize his body. Damn it! Who is it? The owner of this figure was an old man with a haggard face and a crescent mark on his forehead. At this moment, his bones were almost all broken, blood was gushing out of his mouth, and his face was listless. He was a figure at the level of the ancestor of the star ancient Sect thousands of years ago. Because of the appearance of the ancient profound Emperor Mausoleum 3 months ago, under the order of the Sun and Moon Sect Master, he left the star ancient Sect and went to the ancient profound Emperor Mausoleum. Everything was going well. He hid in the dark, guarding against other sacred lands. He used the Emperor Dao Law and mysterious yellow qi in the Emperor Mausoleum to practice. His cultivation that had not moved for thousands of years began to loosen, and in a trance, it seemed that other gates of the holy venerable level were waving to him. However, at the most critical moment of cultivation, a man wearing a mysterious mask suddenly appeared and slapped him to the ground. The threshold of the holy venerable level that he had just realized was taken away just like that. He wanted to fight back in anger, but what frightened him was that the other party didn't care about him at all. He was severely injured by 2 slaps and dragged back to the star ancient Sect like a dead dog. I am furious. Who is this despicable villain? He regretted it very much. If he had known this, he should have listened to the words of the Sun-Moon Sect leader and brought the Sun, Moon, and Star Seal. The Star Ancient Sect is a sacred land of the extreme way and has the divine weapon to suppress luck. Even in normal times, there is a special defensive formation covering the entire sacred land, which can only go out but not in. Boom. Bang. In the sky, the old man who fell like a meteor hit the protective shield and instantly bounced like a ball. Puff. The huge impact force made the old man spit blood. His face was gray and red, and he clenched his teeth. Who is it? The old man has already stepped into the Saint Venerable level with 1 foot, and he can't die easily even if he is seriously injured. Although he is seriously injured now, he is more angry. Our ancestor of the sacred land of the extreme way, who has lived for thousands of years, was knocked down by 3 slaps. What's more terrible is that I don't even know who hit me. The worst thing is that this guy dragged me back to the Xingqian ancient sect and humiliated me in front of everyone. This is a great shame. A loud bang shook the entire sacred land. Many disciples came out of the place where they practiced, looked up at the sky, and were confused. Who is causing trouble? In broad daylight, he dared to use his head to hit the protective formation of Dao Sacred Land. He is also a ruthless person. This person hit our protective formation for no reason. Could it be that he wants to attack us? Impossible. Our Xingqian ancient sect is protected by the divine weapon. Who dares to be so bold? Suddenly, a disciple with good eyesight noticed the crescent pattern between the old man's eyebrows and was so scared that his eyes almost popped out. He shouted loudly, "Look, this man has the same mark on his forehead as the right envoy of Yuan. Is he the right envoy of Yuan? Under the leader of the ancient star sect, except for the great elder, the head of the elders, the left envoy of Sun, and the right envoy of Yuan have the highest status. These two envoys are like the position of the leader, passed down from generation to generation, and each leader has his own left and right envoys of Sun and Moon." Another disciple also discovered this feature and said, "No, the right envoy of Yuan is a woman, and this old man is obviously a man. He should be a certain ancestor of the right envoy of Yuan in the history of our sect." As soon as he said this, he was shocked by this speculation and exchanged glances with the person next to him. If it was really the former right envoy of Yuan, then there must be a reason why this old man bumped into the protective formation of the ancient star sect. Then, they noticed the bloody wounds on the old man's body. Finally realized that this matter was not simple. Which ignorant kid dares to hurt our senior? A roar, like the thunder of the 9 heavens, followed by a figure rushing out from the Xingqian ancient sect and heading straight for the old man in the air. He reached out to grab the old man and tried to save him. "It's the great elder!" a disciple exclaimed, his face full of excitement. The great elder is a strong man in the late stage of the Dao realm, and his strength is unfathomable. It is rumored that the great elder is about to take that critical step and become the top strong man in the Dao realm. The great elder is a middle-aged man wearing a silver robe, with extraordinary temperament, burly figure, and awe-inspiring without anger. With every move, the momentum between heaven and earth seems to be bowing to him. His hand stretched out in the air and grabbed towards the right envoy of Yuan. Suddenly, just when the great elder was about to grab the right envoy of Yuan, a man in a black robe appeared out of thin air, waved his hand, and shocked the great elder back. The elder retreated 7 steps in the air, and his originally calm face was instantly disturbed. He suppressed the blood rushing up in his chest and stared at the black-robed man who attacked. The black-robed man was tall and broad-shouldered. His hair was casually scattered, and he exuded an unrestrained aura. He just stood there, as if the world was centered on him. A vague pressure made the elder feel like he was facing a great enemy. He was a powerful character. The black-robed man wore a bronze mask with a special concealing spell on it. He couldn't see his true face, but he was holding one of Yuan's right-hand man's legs. He dragged him like a dead dog and said hoarsely, "If you want someone, bring money. Bring money and exchange people." Chapter 56, Part 1. When the elder heard this, his eyes narrowed, and his aura was like a river bursting its banks. He took action directly. He was the elder of the sacred land, second only to one person and above 10,000 people. How could he be manipulated by others? And it was at his own doorstep. However, although the elder acted quickly, he was not a reckless person. The opponent must be terrifying to seriously injure the right envoy of Yuan, and it is very likely that he is not his opponent. But this is above the star ancient sect, and the entire sacred land is his confidence. He knew that the senior leaders of the star ancient sect were secretly preparing to give the black-robed man a fatal blow at any time. Therefore, he was extremely determined to act. After all, with his cultivation, it is impossible for him to have no power to fight back. However, puff, the black-robed man grabbed the elder in the air, and in an instant, the elder screamed to the sky. The spell he cast dissipated on its own, and blood was oozing out of the pores all over his body. Crack. In the black-robed man's gradually tightening hands, the elder's bones continued to break and fracture. The sharp sound of bone fracture made the disciples of the Xingqian ancient sect below stand on end and break out in cold sweat. "Ah!" The elder screamed and struggled to look at the black-robed man, in disbelief. He was being played around like a child. He was in the 9th layer of the Dao realm. "I don't believe it." The elder roared, his eyes wide open, and with a finger, a pagoda flew out of his grotto heaven. The pagoda had 9 floors, which kept expanding in the air. There was a door at the bottom of the pagoda, and it opened at this time. The huge space spell was like the strongest suction, pulling the black-robed man's body. However, even under the suppression of the powerful law treasure, the black-robed man was still as steady as a mountain. He grabbed Yuan's right envoy with one hand and the elder in the void with the other hand, and his body stood straight, unaffected. "Impossible!" the elder shouted, his handsome face almost distorted. "This pagoda is a venerable level law treasure, but it can't shake the black-robed man. What kind of cultivation level is 750? Could it be? He has a terrible guess. You are so brave. Just when the great elder tried his best and couldn't shake the black-robed man, the void around the three people was suddenly blocked. A purple-gold dark spear tore through the space and rushed out of the void. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of the bell was like thunder, resounding through the world, and the huge sound waves seemed to materialize. It turned into countless notes, forming a trap, trapping the black-robed man in it. Afterwards, dozens of powerful people from the Star Ancient Sect rushed out of the surrounding void, including the Sun and Moon Sect Master in black and white robes. The purple-gold dark spear was his law treasure. Who are you? How dare you act wild in front of my sect? The Sun and Moon Sect Master in black and white robes had a gloomy face, and he tried his best to control the dark spear, maintain the trap to prevent the black-robed man from breaking the formation and escaping. Hee. The black-robed man suddenly laughed, and his laughter matched the bronze mask. He looked a little weak, and he looked at the Sun Moon Sect leader and said, "You are the Sun Moon Sect leader? I have heard your legend since I was a child. I have seen you today, and it's a waste of time. You are really misleading young people. At your age, with this level of cultivation, you are a bandit from Sacred Land. You have countless resources, but you are just a semi-saint who has just entered the Sacred Heart period. After the perfection of the Tao realm, it is not possible to directly break through to become a sacred venerable. In between, there are three transformations of Sacred Heart, Sacred Body, and Sacred Law, commonly known as the three transformations of Sacred Venerable. The strong men in the Tao realm who have achieved these three transformations are also called semi-saints. Hearing the sarcastic words of the man in black, the old elder of the Star Ancient Sect who had lived for hundreds of years remained calm. In the Dharma ending period, realms are not achieved by enduring time. Without talent, even if you live for 10,000 years, it is in vain. Hee. Don't blame the uneven road if you can't do it yourself. The mysterious masked man in black sneered, holding his head high, and was very disdainful of the Sun and Moon Sect leader and others. The Sun and Moon Sect leader narrowed his eyes, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. You have been trapped by my law treasure, and you are still so arrogant? The Sun and Moon Sect leader pointed his finger, and the purple-gold dark spear hovering above the black-clothed man's head suddenly stirred up a bell-like wave. Wave after wave, like the surging waves, golden ripples appeared. The overwhelming, terrifying power filled the sky and pressed down on the black-clothed man's head. The purple-gold dark spear is also a saint weapon, which was once the life law treasure of a sacred venerable ancestor of the Star Ancient Sect, under the control of the Sun Moon Sect Master, who was a semi-saint. The power of the purple-gold dark spear far exceeded that of the Saint Venerable Level Pagoda, controlled by the Great Elder. Ha ha ha. How ridiculous. Such a low-level trap and a law treasure that is not up to standard. You want to trap me? Dream on you. The man in black laughed wildly, and he stood there, letting the purple-gold dark spear hit his head. The purple-gold dark spear attacked with terrifying sound waves, pressing towards the top of the black-clothed man's head. But 3 inches above the head, it was blocked by a powerful force and could no longer descend. This guy must be wearing a law treasure that is not low-level. A strong man from the Star Ancient Sect saw the clue and shouted coldly, his face ugly. Let's go together. He roared and took the lead. The pair of swords in his hands turned into a real phantom of 1,000 meters long, crossing and hitting the black-clothed man. At the same time, dozens of other powerful people from the Ancient Star Sect also took out the law treasure and launched an attack all over the sky. The dazzling Taoist attacks filled the sky and the earth. Like the 33rd layer heavenly world above the sky, it was extremely conspicuous. Hee. With the quasi-emperor level soft armor given by my son, you little fish and shrimps want to hurt me? The man in black sneered in his heart. His realm was far beyond these people, and his weapons were several streets ahead of them. Therefore, from beginning to end, he was very calm. He came to block the door. He was serious. Boom. Dozens of dazzling and terrifying Taoist attacks shattered the space and rolled back the void, and the damage was amazing. But no matter how big the noise was, it did not change one fact. The man in black was unharmed. He still stood there, and all the attacks were blocked 3 inches away, completely isolated. Get out of the way. Suddenly, the Sun and Moon Sect leader, who had been silent all the time, roared angrily and raised his hands above his head. Powerful spiritual power gathered into a vortex and rushed to a certain point in the sky above the ancient star religion. Boom. Chapter 56, Part 2. In the sky hundreds of thousands of meters above the ancient star religion, the clouds dispersed and the space broke. A large seal shaped like the founding jade seal of the country flew out in a turquoise color. In an instant, the sky collapsed. The shadow of the 33rd layer heavenly world above the sky seemed to fluctuate because of the appearance of the seal, and the picture was shaking. The golden light of Taoism descended from the sky, dazzling, and the nine-color glow was dazzling. 5 holy beasts appeared in the center of the sky, roaring continuously and dancing around the seal. The seal was the sun, moon, and star seal. Ancient divine weapon. The weapon of the founder of the ancient star religion, the Sun and Moon Saint Emperor. The anxious Sun and Moon Sect Master did not want any accidents, and the man in black was obviously powerful, and he was well equipped, so he directly called out the divine weapon. He wanted to make sure that the man in black was suppressed instantly. The cautious Sun and Moon Sect leader used all his strength to drive the Sun, Moon, and Star Seal. He did not give the man in black a chance to escape. The Sun, Moon, and Star Seal in the sky continued to emit green light, and the sky actually darkened. The brilliant starry sky appeared before everyone's eyes, as if the starry sky was pulled closer. The field of vision was magnified countless times. Shocking. The starry sky was brilliant, and the stars were shining. At this moment, all the practitioners within 1,000 miles of the ancient star religion looked up in shock, not knowing what had happened. But they could feel a vast divine power. In the direction of heavenly jade sacred land, many ancient families and hidden sects looked at the ancient star religion at the same time. The ancient star religion actually used the sun, moon, and star seal. What kind of enemy did it encounter? The divine power of the sun, moon, and star seal was terrifying, and the laws of the imperial way were flying, containing murderous aura. It was obvious that the user wanted to use it to kill people. In this ruin, in addition to heavenly jade sacred land, there was actually someone who could force the ancient star religion to use the ancient divine weapon. I have hostages in my hands. 2. The masked man in black remained calm. Although his body trembled slightly uncontrollably under the divine power of the sun, moon, and star seal, he still spoke calmly. He lifted up the great elder and the dying Yuan right envoy. You underestimate the ancient divine weapon. The divine weapon has spirits. If it doesn't kill people from my sect, you will be the only one to die. Anyone who invades my sect will be killed without a doubt. The sun and moon sect leader shouted coldly, clasped his hands together, and his hair stood up and fluttered. The whole person was like a peerless war god, with a terrifying momentum and a faint holy power. The sun, moon, and star seal was specially refined by the sun and moon saint emperor using his own emperor blood and a trace of emperor soul. It will not accidentally hurt the monks of the ancient star sect. Hearing this, the man in black was stunned. Not killing his own people, only killing him? Oh my. Crack. He suddenly crushed the necks of the 2 people, and the powerful spiritual sense rushed into their bodies. It crushed their nascent soul, destroyed the Tianyan soul, shattered the Dao platform, and completely killed them. Then he laughed and said, Boy, this is the supreme divine ability. One Chi transforms into 3 purities. Although I am a rough man, I am also a cautious rough man. How could I take risks without preparation? Hearing this, the strong men of the ancient star sect widened their eyes in disbelief. One Chi transforms into 3 purities. It is said that the famous divine ability of an ancient heavenly venerable, one person transformed into 3 people, all of whom are real. Someone once commented on that heavenly venerable, saying that he can also dominate among emperor venerables. With just the supreme divine ability of one Chi transforms into 3 purities, he can look down on the past, present, and future. But since the mysterious death of that heavenly venerable, one Chi transforms into 3 purities has also disappeared, and there is no successor. Unexpectedly, this person actually inherited that kind of supreme divine ability? How can we trust you with your tongue? That's right, that heavenly venerable has no successor. Supreme divine ability like one Chi transforms into 3 purities has long disappeared in the long river of history. You killed the strong men of our sect, and you will definitely die today, and you won't even see the place where you will be buried. Many strong men of the ancient star sect shouted angrily, not frightened by the man in black, thinking that the other party was just struggling to death. I want to scare them, find loopholes, and find an opportunity to escape. How can we let them succeed so easily? You killed the ancestor of my sun and moon sect, and killed the great elder. You can't live. The leader of the sun and moon sect roared, and the sun, moon, and star seal fell from the sky, carrying the power of the stars, and the divine power was displayed, and everything was shattered. The black-robed man stood still, without any resistance, and turned into ashes under the attack and disappeared between heaven and earth. Ha ha ha. You scum of the ancient star sect, let's continue playing. I have plenty of time. Before the sun-moon sect leader and others could be happy, a burst of arrogant laughter came from afar. The owner of the laughter was the black-robed man who had just been killed by the sun-moon star seal. I'm so angry. The sun-moon sect leader roared, shaking with anger. Soon, what happened in the ancient star sect spread rapidly throughout the land of Daxu as if it had wings. Someone deliberately spread this news just to make fun of the ancient star sect. All forces cast their eyes, unable to believe that this was true. The elder of the first sect and the semi-saint patriarch were killed in front of all the people in the sect, and that person ran away unscathed even when the Sun-Moon sect leader used the divine weapon. Oh my god, what a great man. This time, the Xingqian ancient sect is really embarrassed. The sacred land, a great and powerful sacred land, was fooled by someone. Yeah, even the ancient divine weapon was used, but still failed to kill that person. I guess they are so angry. I just don't know who this person is, and he is so powerful. The Xingqian ancient sect seems to be looking for this person, and has announced that whoever can find him will be rewarded with a holy weapon. Oh my, that's a holy weapon, a treasure that many powerful forces dream of. They just put it out for a reward. They are worthy of being the sacred land, rich and powerful. Hee hee, what rich and powerful, I think they are angry. Haha, well said. Rumors filled the land of Daxu. When countless people were looking forward to the appearance of the ancient profound emperor's tomb and the opening of the immortal list, the hatred and embarrassment of the Xingqian Tongue sect also became everyone's joke. People spread the word, praising the great man, who was so powerful. In front of many masters of the ancient star sect, he killed 2 powerful people of the ancient star sect. Even heavenly jade sacred land can't do such a thing, right? Chapter 56, Part 3. So awesome, such a person. I really want to meet him and have a drink with him. Most people are very tempted by the conditions offered by the ancient star sect, but some people sneer at it. After all, the mess of the ancient star sect is clear to everyone with a discerning eye, and who wants to get involved in this muddy water. If you report it, you will lose your life. They have done a lot of black eating black. When you cry out for injustice, no one will pay attention to you. Damn it. The leader of the Sun and Moon sect was furious in the Sun and Moon temple. It was really abominable that he used the Sun, Moon, and Star seal and let people run away. A group of old monsters and elders stood there, not daring to breathe, with solemn faces and holding back anger in their hearts. The Xingqian ancient sect was established millions of years ago. How can Ashur live in such a bad mood? What are people in Daxu talking about our Xingqian ancient sect now? They say that our Dao Sacred Land is just a name, strong on the outside but weak on the inside. It has long lost its past foundation and strength, and now it can only rely on divine weapon to pretend. The reputation of the Xingqian ancient sect is damaged, and the prestige of the Sun and Moon Saint Emperor is damaged. This is what we cannot tolerate the most. This is our belief. Go to the ancestral land and ask the Xinglua patriarch to come out of retreat. The Sun and Moon sect leader took a deep breath and said in a trembling voice. 2.8 Hearing this, a group of elders suddenly looked up and were shocked. Xinglua patriarch, that is, the only conscious saint venerable level patriarch in the sect. But Xinglua patriarch's lifespan was about to end 1,000 years ago. He had already fallen into a state of dozing to delay the passage of lifespan. Now, we have to alarm him because of this? Is this appropriate? The Sun-Moon sect leader stared at them, his majestic face full of regret that these people could not see the situation clearly. The opponent has mastered 1 Qi transforms into 3 purities, and his experience is probably at the peak of semi-saint. Such an opponent is targeting the Star Ancient sect, which is a big problem. He had used divine weapon to calculate the whereabouts of the black-robed man before. The opponent is still wandering around the Star Ancient sect, and his whereabouts are erratic. It is obvious that he wants to fight to the end and not let them have an easy time. Now, no one in the Star Ancient sect is the opponent of the black-robed man. Although he is more powerful than the opponent in driving divine weapon, the opponent is flexible and changeable, and his whereabouts are uncertain, so he can't be locked at all. So, now the Star Ancient sect needs an apex level master to kill this person as quickly as possible and eliminate the hidden dangers. Xinglua Patriarch is the most suitable person. No one in the contemporary Saint Venerable level can defeat him. No matter how many tricks the opponent has, he can't escape and will definitely die. Xinglua Patriarch just doesn't have much lifespan. He's not going to die soon. Look at your cowardly look. Go and invite him. Sun Moon sect leader waved his sleeves and roared. His voice was like thunder, and the powerful semi-saint venerable level pressure filled the entire temple. The elders were forced to retreat again and again by his momentum, not daring to say anything more, and hurriedly retreated one by one. You are really stupid. You can't see the situation clearly, and you can't tell the importance. Sun Moon sect leader's chest rose and fell violently, and his eyes turned red with anger. He suddenly remembered the words of the black-robed man. If you can't do it yourself, don't blame the uneven road. I was even angrier. It's so mad at me. P.S. The new book is on the shelves. Please subscribe to support. Thank you, dears. Love you. Chapter 57, Part 1. At this moment, in the Holy Demon Mountain, the Grand Palace Master was holding a teacup with a ruddy face, standing on the edge of the Holy Demon Palace. Looking down at the misty scenery in the distance, she felt relaxed. Just now, she got the news that a mysterious man in black robes was causing trouble in the ancient Star Sect. He killed the Grand Elder and a semi-saint venerable level patriarch of the ancient Star Sect at once. And after the Sun and Moon Sect master used divine weapon to deal with the other party, he found that it was just a physical phantom condensed by divine ability. The other party made a harsh statement and wanted to fight to the end, which made the ancient Star Sect so angry that they almost bit people. Ha ha ha. Great, it's really great. Chu Yuan did this exactly what I wanted. Without revealing his identity, he can retaliate against the ancient Star Sect to the maximum extent. This is a great move, really great. The Grand Palace Master laughed up to the sky. Of course, she knew the identity of the man in black robes. It must be Chu Yuan who blocked the door. She was also full of confidence in Chu Yuan's strength. The 81st generation Palace Master of Zizai Palace, his strength is enough for him to rest in the ancestral mausoleum. Now that he has set his sights on the Xingqian ancient sect, he will definitely give them a headache for a while. Moreover, the Grand Palace Master believes that with Chu Yuan's strength, he can leave at any time if he wants to. On Tian Peak, the Palace Master of Tian listened to the report of his disciples with a strange look on his face. This guy can already play with semi-saint? Well, when he comes back, I have to be low-key. If you keep talking hard, a slap will really kill someone. He secretly set a goal for himself in his heart, and then stepped into the cave mansion and began to practice hard. The stronger the strength, the better the ability to resist beatings. This principle is clear to those who are in the high-level circle of Shengma Mountain. Once the words are not in line with each other, no one will show mercy when fighting. No matter if you are the palace master or not, the big slap will be directly greeted in the face. In the Xianin Palace, the master of Xianin Palace kept walking back and forth, with a sad face and kept muttering. Thinking back then, why was I so hard-mouthed? It turned out that 30 years ago, when Chu Yuan left the sect, he said that he would leave the sect and never come back. The hot-tempered master of Xianin Palace blurted out at that time, "You'd better not come back, otherwise I will fight you every time I see you." Now, Chu Yuan is about to return, and he is a little panicked. The Xinglua Patriarch came out of retreat and gave everyone a reassurance, making people feel unprecedented peace of mind. But when the Xinglua Patriarch personally used the divine weapon to calculate the origin of the black-robed man, but he only saw a chaos, only a vague shadow emerged. It is difficult to determine the true identity of the black-robed man. How could this be? With my cultivation, I can't even calculate the origin of this person. The Xinglua Patriarch has a fairy-like appearance, a beard that grows to his knees, a ruddy complexion, and a full spirit. A pair of eyes like stars in the night sky, extremely bright. It is hard to tell that this old man has a short life left. He is now very confused. With the strength of his holy venerable realm and the assistance of divine weapon. In today's world, is there anyone who can escape his calculations? The Sun and Moon sect leader stood behind the Xinglua Patriarch, looking at the sun, moon, and star marks rotating in the air, his face solemn. Ancestor, if we can't calculate his origins, can we calculate where he will go in the future? In this way, we can set an ambush in advance. The Sun and Moon sect leader suggested. After hearing this, Xinglua Patriarch shook his head and said, "It's easy to calculate the whereabouts, but that person obviously has a treasure protecting him. It can be isolated and calculated, but it's difficult to calculate further, unless..." The Sun and Moon sect leader was very smart. His eyes turned and said, "Unless there is something closely related to him, it's best to have a drop of blood, or a hair." The Xinglua Patriarch nodded and said, "Yes, once the personal belongings fall into the hands of others. The other party has a powerful law treasure to protect him. Even if he has a treasure on him, he can't escape the calculation." The Sun and Moon sect leader thought for a while, and then said, "Why don't we pretend to be weak and deceive his trust? Use resources to reconcile and lure him to come? It's difficult. The other party dares to be so blatant. He should not be a fool and will not be easily fooled." Xinglua Patriarch shook his head and said, "If it really doesn't work, I will have to do it myself. Anyway, it will take a few years. I should also enter the Emperor's source and sleep. Before that, I must eliminate this person even if it costs some life." The Xinglua Patriarch appears to be in high spirits, but in fact his body is not as good as before. He has a short lifespan, so he cannot use the power of sacred venerable casually. If the power is overused, the lifespan will be exhausted faster. So before taking action, first determine the origin of the black-robed man in order to directly and effectively solve the root of the problem. But the other party has been prepared, and at most can only deduce the general trajectory of his actions, and his identity is difficult to touch. How do you know if you don't try? If he doesn't take the bait, it means that the temptation is not enough. Saint soldiers. Saint King soldiers. Great Saint soldiers. Our sect has everything. Aren't you afraid that he won't be tempted? The Sun and Moon sect leader said proudly. Although the other party is mysterious, it is very likely that he is a strong man from a sect that our sect has destroyed. He has returned after completing his studies and came here specifically to seek revenge. Such a person has nothing. It seems that he will perish together with his enemies, but in fact, such a person is easier to defeat. Since he has nothing, let him have the whole world. We can give him resources and a place to live. The Xinglua patriarch turned his head and looked at the Sun and Moon sect leader. He was a little surprised. He didn't expect that this sect leader was such a smart person. If the other party is really as he guessed, he might be persuaded. At least second, the strong men of transformation are definitely qualified to be won over by the ancient star sect. As for the murdered great elder and Yuan right envoy, in his opinion, the dead are no longer useful, and the living black-robed man is more worthy of winning over. If the black-robed man can be brought under his command, then the rumors in Daxu will immediately become different. From sarcasm to praise. Praise the ancient star sect for its means and generosity, not only for turning the black-robed man against the enemy, but also for tolerating him and not holding grudges. Ancestor Xinglua thinks it is feasible, and he sincerely hopes not to take action. Once he takes action this time, he must enter the Emperor's source sleep and become the foundation completely. But at present, the ancient star sect needs another ancestor of the Saint Venerable level to sit in. Chapter 57, Part 2. Always stay awake and shock the world. Ancestor Xinglua said, "You go and do this. If it doesn't work, it won't be too late for me to take action again. As long as he is willing to show up, even if he refuses, we must seize the opportunity. If we can't kill him, we will leave a drop of his blood. Then he will have no way to escape." He planned to make two preparations. If the other party agrees to surrender, everyone will be happy. If he doesn't agree and dares to show up, we will try our best to leave a drop of his blood to calculate his whereabouts and origins. If he neither agrees nor shows up, then he can only go in person. Use the power of the Saint Venerable level to get rid of him as soon as possible and reduce the loss of life. Leave it to me. The starry ancient sect nodded and said, "Ancestor, you take a rest first. I will find a place that is safe for both parties to trade. Try to reduce his vigilance. Around, I will use divine weapon to cover up the traces and lay a net. Once he refuses, I will take the initiative to attack." The starry ancestor nodded with satisfaction and said, "Very good, you go. The ancestor has been sleeping for too long. Get back some feeling first. The Saint Venerable level will cause a huge wave in the world, and I don't want to alarm the heavenly Jade Sacred Land." The Sun and Moon sect leader nodded, turned around, and disappeared in the Sun and Moon temple. After he left, the face of the starry ancestor flickered. In those eyes as bright as stars, there seemed to be a scene of a giant star falling. On this day, the starry ancient sect secretly released the news to let the black-robed man know. They are willing to reconcile, and the conditions are arbitrary, hoping to talk on the top of Qingming Mountain. This matter is done secretly, and not many people know about it. But the Xingqian ancient sect believes that the man in black robes will definitely receive the news. Few people will refuse the olive branch extended by Dao Sacred Land, and few people dare to refuse. Xitio. My mother told me since I was a child that people and dogs cannot live in the same room. Especially you crazy dogs who bite people all day long. The words of the man in black robe were conveyed to the ancient Star Church cordially. Suddenly, the senior leaders of the ancient Star Church were furious. Some elders were so angry that they jumped up and down. Their faces were red and their necks were thick, and their eyes were full of bloodshot. It was too much to insult the ancient Star Church like this. As the sacred land of the extreme, when had they ever been treated like this? Unlike those people who were filled with anger, the face of the Sun and Moon sect leader was calm as usual. The reaction of the man in black robe was actually within his expectations, but he did not give up. Since he wanted to reconcile, he still had to have a minimum attitude. Others had the right to refuse, and he had to show his sincerity in repeatedly seeking peace. Although I don't know your identity, I must have offended you before. In any case, 3 days later, on the top of Qingming Mountain, the ancient Star Church is waiting for you to come. After conveying these words, the ancient Star Church was silent. No matter how the man in black robe ridiculed them, they were unmoved. It seemed that after 3 days of waiting, he negotiated with the black-robed man on the top of Qingming Mountain. On the top of a mountain, the black-robed man stood there, his clothes rustling. His hair fluttered in the wind, and he was covered with yellow talismans all over his body. These talismans were used to isolate and calculate, and one talisman could block the deduction of a strong man. The black-robed man felt that it was not safe enough, so he simply took out a bunch of them and pasted them all over his body. Moreover, under his black robe, he was wearing a soft armor. This was a quasi-emperor level treasure, which also had the effect of isolating and calculating. Not long ago, he felt that an elusive force seemed to be looking for him and tracking him in secret. So, he took out a bunch of talismans and pasted them all over his body, and with the help of soft armor, he successfully avoided the calculation. He knew in his heart that the Star Ancient Sect must have used the divine weapon to calculate him. Moreover, he had long been away from the Star Ancient Sect, millions of miles away, hiding far away. If they were too close, it would be hard to escape with the power of the divine weapon. He was really smart. My son is smart. He prepared so many good things. Fortunately, I was smart enough to take away a lot of life-saving treasures before leaving. I have been wandering for 30 years, and they have saved me in times of crisis, he. Under the mask, the man in black robe smiled proudly. He is very stable. The man in black robe understood that there must be some conspiracy behind the reconciliation proposed by the ancient star cult. Apex-level Sacred Land, like them, only cares about their own face. If they can save their face, it would be the best. But if they don't know how to appreciate it, they will definitely try their best to put themselves to death. In this way, they can restore the dignity of Sacred Land and tell the world that the ancient star cult is not easy to mess with. But will he be afraid? Haha. The man in black robe waved his sleeves, and the powerful Taoist magic covered the world. In the distant field of vision, the mountain where he was suddenly disappeared. After doing all this, the black-robed man took out a sound transmission jade and lifted the band. He carefully used the power of concealment to wrap the sound transmission so that it would not be intercepted by others. Son? Son? I am your father. ##, son? Dad, please reply if you receive it. Strangely, the sound transmission jade, which always responded immediately in the past, did not move this time. There was no response from Chu Tian, or in other words, his sound transmission could not be delivered at all. The black-robed man frowned. It was strange. This situation had never happened before. The sound transmission jade in Chu Tian's hand was very special, any spiritual sense that had been paired with it. No matter how far apart, as long as they were still in the Yinhuang realm, they could transmit sound. It can be said that this distance is extremely amazing. You have to know how vast the entire Yinhuang realm is. Ordinary cultivators can never reach the border even if they fly for a lifetime. Is this guy practicing for the first time? The black-robed man shook his head. No, he should have gone to a place like Secret Realm. It's hard for my spiritual sense in the sound transmission jade to be transmitted there. Then, he gave up contact with Chu Tian and turned to leave. Time and Space God Realm. After soaking in the big vat for a day, Chu Tian discovered the magical effect of the fairy river water. For the first time, he opened the entrance to the Time and Space God Realm with the big vat. Practicing inside can save time. 1 day outside is 3 days inside. In the cave mansion, there is only one token suspended, but if you don't look carefully, you can't see the token at all. Because it seems to be here, it actually exists in time and space. This is the self-protection mechanism of the token after the host enters the Time and Space God Realm. Chapter 57, Part 3. There is nothing special in the Time and Space God Realm, just a colorful world that stretches as far as the eye can see. No wonder the system says that if you practice here for too long, you will lose your way and even lose your memory. Such a place, with only brilliant colors, is a great burden on the eyes. Even if you don't look at it, your spirit will be exhausted after a long time. Spiritual sense will be eroded by the law of time, and eventually the memory will be erased. But Chu Tian, as a young man with ambition, doesn't care about these at all. He has been practicing in the time and space world for more than 3 months, and suddenly opened his eyes. He walked out naked, looked at his flawless body, and nodded with satisfaction. It is worthy of being the water of the immortal river. Even he has benefited a lot. Not only has his originally perfect physique been strengthened again, he also comprehended 3 strands of immortal chi law from the water of the immortal river. These 3 strands of immortal chi law are extremely powerful, and they belong to the human world. Once used, it has both offensive and defensive capabilities, which can save lives and attack powerfully. Chu Tian likes it very much, especially its defensive ability, which is deeply loved by him. Boom. Suddenly, he felt that the realm shackles in his body began to loosen, and he was a little out of control and was about to break through. But the breakthrough of the great realm requires transcending tribulation. It seems that I have to go out. It is too dangerous to do transcending tribulation in the sect. Chu Tian lifted the restriction and walked out of the time and space divine world. Then, his sound transmission jade began to flash continuously, indicating that someone was transmitting a message. He took out the sound transmission jade, and a voice came from it. Son, I am your father. Dad? Chu Tian raised his eyebrows. What did he want to do with me? Then, he used spiritual sense to probe into it, and tried to communicate with Chu Yuan. Soon, Chu Yuan answered, but his tone seemed very urgent. Son, come and save your father. Someone is going to die. Chu Tian frowned, and there was a deafening sound from the sound transmission jade. It was extremely harsh, as if there were strong people fighting, and the momentum was huge. He had been practicing for the past few days and knew nothing about what happened in the Xingqian ancient sect. Nor did he know what bold things Chu Yuan had done. What are you doing? Why is there so much noise? Chu Tian asked. Chu Yuan said anxiously, I am being hunted. Do you know what hunting means? And it is the strong men from the holy venerable realm who are hunting your father. Hearing this, Chu Tian was not anxious. He knew the strength of this father very well. He said, don't pretend. Are you hiding somewhere that the other party can't find you? You are as anxious as an ant on a hot pot, and are carpet bombing you? VB. You saw through it so quickly? Ha ha ha. Chu Yuan's tone immediately became relaxed, and then he told Chu Tian about his experience in the past few days. Please give me some data. Thank you, dears. Flowers and tickets are fine. 1 or 2 flowers or 1 or 2 cards are fine. Thank you, author. I love you all. Chapter 58, Part 1. A few days ago, they waited for me for a long time on the top of Qingming Mountain. When they found out that I went to visit the Xingqian ancient sect, they were almost mad to death. Although they were prepared, they also invited several other semi-saint venerable level ancestors to take charge. But your father is so powerful that he beat them so hard that they could not come out and could only confront me in the defensive formation. By the time the Sun and Moon sect master came back with the treasure, I would have run away. They were so angry that they brought out another saint venerable level ancestor. It seems to be called Xinglua Patriarch. He was also a big shot in the Great Ruins land before. Now he is the one chasing me. Fortunately, I hid deep and had a lot of good invisibility things on my body, so I could avoid his calculations every time. Now he is running around the world with righteousness. Chu Tian smiled helplessly after listening to his father Chu Yuan's description. His father is not serious, powerful, and likes to play dirty. On the surface, he is a rough man, a real old sly. Why, you are so strong. Why don't you kill the Xinglua Patriarch? Chu Tian joked. Of course, he was just joking. The Xinglua Patriarch is a saint venerable level and is not easy to deal with. Besides, Chu Yuan's strength should not have reached the saint venerable level. However, he was not sure how strong Chu Yuan was, who had left the sect for 30 years. Chu Yuan smiled disdainfully and said, killing the sacred venerable has too many consequences. Afterwards, the Xingqian ancient sect used the divine weapon to calculate. I am afraid I can't escape, and my identity will definitely be exposed by then. When the sacred venerable gets angry, corpses will be scattered all over the place. In this Dharma-ending age, the sacred venerable is the supreme being between heaven and earth, and every word and action of the sacred venerable is a great Tao. Even if he talks to other beings at the saint venerable level, he will be involved in a lot of karma. If Chu Yuan rashly kills the Xinglua Patriarch, then the Xingqian ancient sect will invite another sacred venerable patriarch. If he is calculated with the divine weapon, he will probably be unable to escape. In this world, karma is cyclical, and if you are involved in the great karma, it is difficult to escape the pursuit of the laws of heaven and earth. Chu Tian smiled slightly, thinking that he was about to go out. He said, if you are really capable, just get rid of him. I will leave the sect for a while soon, and I will settle the karma. After hearing this, Chu Yuan suddenly fell silent. Chu Tian asked in confusion, what's wrong? Nothing. I'll sharpen the knife again, make it brighter, and cut people more easily. Beep. Chu Yuan hung up the phone. At the end, Chu Tian vaguely heard a sentence from the other side. Xinglua boy, your grandpa is here. Chu Tian whispered to himself, is this guy really a saint? How old is he? Chu Tian was just joking with Chu Yuan before, but he didn't expect him to take it seriously, and it seems that he really has that kind of strength. This is too tolerant. If the Saint Demon Master and the others knew about it, wouldn't they be ashamed to death? They are far behind him in this way of living a miserable life. Dad is only at the Tianyan realm on the surface. Chu Tian walked out of the cave mansion and glanced at the residence of the Lord of the Samsara Palace. Through the stone wall, he saw him sitting in it, practicing hard. The Taoist method around the Lord of the Samsara Palace is rich, and the 3 breaths are amazing. There is a huge force in the body, trying to condense Tao platform in the body and impact the Tao realm. Wow. This old guy is really almost there. However, Chu Tian still saw the dilemma of the Lord of Samsara Palace. Although he took several holy medicines and his foundation was much deeper, but within a few months, he broke through 2 realms and reached the perfection of Tianyan realm. Now he is forcibly condensing Tao platform and impacting the Tao realm, and the energy in his body is already stretched. In other words, if the Lord of Samsara wants to impact the Tao realm at this time, he is still a little short of the fire. In this era, the Tao realm is considered to be the apex level realm on the surface, and it is not so easy to break through. Not only is the realm foundation strict, but also the understanding of the law and the use of spiritual sense are also required. Tao platform. It is the foundation for cultivators to contact the great Tao. If you don't understand it deeply, it will be difficult to condense it. Seeing that you are working so hard, I will help you. Chu Tian raised his lips and snapped his fingers. A stream of light flashed through the perception of the Lord of Samsara Palace, flew into the cave mansion, and merged into his body. Suddenly, the body of the Lord of Samsara Palace, who was originally exhausted, shook violently. I only felt that there was a powerful seed of Taoism in my body, which helped him to condense the Tao platform. With the help of this seed of Taoism, the Lord of Samsara Palace felt that condensing the Tao platform became extremely easy. Continuously playing out his own understanding of Taoism, the little brilliance gradually gathered into a glowing high platform. That was the prototype of the Tao platform. To do this step, it is considered that one has stepped half a foot into the realm of Taoism. As long as it stabilizes, the realm of Taoism will be achieved. The Lord of Samsara Palace suppressed the secret joy in his heart and hurriedly stabilized the prototype of the Tao platform, continued to condense, and played out the Taoism. Chu Tian retracted his gaze, and there was only so much he could do. The realm of asking for the truth is a very critical realm. Relying on external forces alone will do more harm than good to the master of the Samsara Palace. At this time, Shi Hao and Xin Qing were sparring by the Spirit Lake. Neither of them used their realm. They were both very impressive in their physical confrontation. Whether it was the Samsara sacred body or the ancient Qian immortal body, they were both apex-level physiques. It was not easy to determine the winner. They caught a glimpse of Chu Tian, and the two of them quickly withdrew their hands, walked over, and shouted, "Master." The two looked at Chu Tian and felt that Chu Tian seemed different after not seeing him for a few days. He was more detached than before, standing there, as if he was not there. Xin Qing was speechless. Such a realm he did not expect that Chu Tian, who had practiced for 100 years, had already walked ahead of everyone in this Dharma-ending age. From the perspective of Emperor Venerable in his previous life, it was also extremely amazing. If he and his master were in the same life in his previous life, could he still achieve enlightenment? Yes. Chu Tian saw that the relationship between the two was harmonious and his realm was much more stable, and nodded with satisfaction. He then said, "Master has something to do and needs to go out. If an outsider comes, let him wait for a few days." Glancing at the cave mansion of the Lord of the Samsara Palace, he said to Shi Hao, "When the master is not here, you, as the great master, will be the master of the free palace. It's okay if you don't want anyone to come in. Don't make it difficult." Chapter 58, Part 2. The master will support you if there is anything. Shi Hao quickly responded, "I know, master. Take this." Chu Tian took out a sound transmission jade that matched his sound transmission jade pendant and said, "This sound transmission jade can communicate with the master at any time. If there is an emergency, you can contact the master. Some small things, you can handle it yourself." Shi Hao has a calm personality and does things without rushing or being impatient. Chu Tian is still quite confident in him. Cultivate him as the future 101st and 101st master of the Free Palace. Naturally, he has to give him some power and let him enter the vision of the high-level officials of the Holy Demon Mountain step by step. Then, Chu Tian looked at Xin Qing, knowing what he was thinking, and said, "Don't worry about the Emperor's mausoleum. Practice with peace of mind. Master is here for you." Xin Qing felt at ease and nodded, "Thank you, master." Chu Tian nodded and said no more. After turning around, the space in front of him unfolded automatically. A black void portal as high as a person appeared, and Chu Tian walked in. His figure disappeared in the Zizai Palace. At this time, he had left the Holy Demon Mountain and wiped out all traces. No one could track his whereabouts. Although our talent is already top-notch, I always feel that Master's talent seems to be more terrifying. Looking at the closed void portal, Shi Hao couldn't help but say, this is his intuition. In this life of reincarnation's sacred body, he will never be inferior to anyone. Although Shi Hao has a calm personality, he is not arrogant or impatient. But deep down he is actually very proud and never wants to bow his head and admit defeat easily. However, whenever he faces Chu Tian, he always feels that his talent seems to be insignificant. Xin Qing glanced at him and said, "Just remove the 3 words always field." DB. Shi Hao turned to look at Xin Qing. After all, Xin Qing had experienced many ups and downs, so he knew it clearly. What is the most taboo for practitioners, especially those who are preparing to embark on the journey of the great Tao like them? He looked at Shi Hao and said, "Brother, no matter how talented the master is, or in the future, we will meet opponents whose talents are not lower than ours, or even higher than ours. We must all have absolute confidence in ourselves, which is an indispensable condition for the path to the Emperor. Emperor Venerable is an invincible existence in the universe. Before proving the Tao, it was this invincible Tao heart that supported them to move forward step by step and finally achieve the great Tao." Shi Hao suddenly realized and said, "Thank you for reminding me, brother. As the reborn body of the ancient profound Emperor, Xin Qing naturally knows more than me. These few words really helped me a lot." Xin Qing continued, "Master said that you have to break the shackles and prove the Tao with the reincarnation sacred body. surpass the sages of all ages, so in terms of Dao heart, you must be more strict than anyone else. Once the Dao heart is broken, this invincible road will come to an end, especially for you. Sure how nodded heavily, Xinqing's words benefited him a lot. Just half a day after Chu Tian left the sect, a terrible news came from Daxu. Before the news was confirmed, a terrible storm suddenly broke out in Sangzhou. The terrible Taoism turned into a brilliant divine rainbow, tearing the world apart for tens of millions of miles. Tens of thousands of holy lights fell from the sky, covering the 33rd layer sky. Two terrifying holy powers filled the world, constantly colliding, and the surrounding land instantly turned into ruins. Under these two majestic holy powers, no object can last for a breath. No matter whether it is a fierce beast or a cultivator, no matter how high the realm is, in front of this holy power, they all feel their own insignificance. An old man walked out from the hidden mountains and waters somewhere in Sangzhou. Looking at the holy power erupting in the distance, he whispered, "There are actually two holy venerable level others are fighting, and it seems that both sides have murderous intentions. Something is wrong." He noticed the abnormality and said in surprise, "One of the parties seems to have not reached the Saint Venerable level. It is at the critical point between the third metamorphosis and Sacred Venerable, and it may break through at any time. At this critical moment, the situation is extremely unstable. How dare this person challenge a real saint at this moment? Is he trying to take the opportunity to break through the Sacred Venerable barrier?" Guessing the man's intention, the old man's face was uncertain, and he secretly sighed that this man was really a hero. Too bold. Sacred Venerable level others fighting. This terrible news quickly spread from Sangzhou to the entire Daxu. Countless powerful forces have set their sights on Sangzhou. What happened in Sangzhou these days? First, the ancient profound emperor's mausoleum appeared, and then a mysterious figure provoked the Sangzhou overlord Xingqian ancient sect. Now there is a sacred venerable fights. When ordinary people fight, many people who love to watch the excitement will rush to the scene to see it. When other fights are fought, no matter who they are or what forces they are, as long as they are near the battlefield, they will all stay away with their families. Because the residual power of the saint can destroy a large sect. If they are hit directly by the power of Sacred Venerable, even the 9 Transcendent Level sects will face the disaster of extinction. When Sacred Venerable fights, everything is worthless. In today's Dharma-ending era, space is fragile and everything is withering. Sacred Venerable can be called the supreme of the contemporary era, above a primeval forest in Sangzhou. The primeval forest is vast and boundless, with an ancient and heavy atmosphere and trees 200 meters high. There are wild beasts living in it, which are extremely terrifying, and the overwhelming momentum is enough to scare all practitioners. But today, these terrible beasts are also desperately running away. Each one runs faster than the other, wishing they had 2 less legs. The speed reached the limit, and some ran out of the primeval forest. Some rushed to the depths of the forest and joined those in the big area. Boom! A stream of light 1,000 meters thick fell from the sky and landed in the primeval forest, instantly stirring up tens of thousands of feet of golden light. After the light dissipated, there was no life within tens of thousands of miles of the original place. Destroyed by the terrible Taoist magic, the space was broken, and the void was dark, which was extremely terrifying. A strong void wind whistled out, and the sky was full of broken stones. Tens of thousands of meters above the sky, Chu Yuan and Xinglua Patriarch were fighting fiercely. Continuously fighting, the terrifying Taoist magic that was easily enough to kill the Dao realm was used casually. After an unknown period of time, the two rushed into the sky, stood in the 33rd layer sky, and looked at each other from a distance. Chu Yuan, wearing a mask, was full of excitement, although he was at a disadvantage. But the opponent seemed to have been retaining his strength and didn't want to go all out, which led to the continuous battle. Chapter 58, Part 3. This also gave him hope of breaking through the holy venerable realm. He has reached the 3rd transformation, the peak of the holy law. Every move he made contained the sacred venerable method. Although he was not as good as a real sacred venerable, with his talent, he would not be far behind. Today, with Chu Tian's support, he made a decisive move to break through the Saint Venerable level in one fell swoop. Even if it was difficult, he would try. At his age, if he could break through the Saint Venerable realm, I am afraid he would be one of the youngest sacred venerables since the Dharma-ending age. Boy, I have been restraining my strength to fight you. Do you know why? Xinglua Patriarch spoke, and in his eyes as bright as stars, there was a scene of stars shattering, which was extremely terrifying. After fighting with Chu Yuan for so long, his face was calm, without any fluctuations. But he was very shocked in his heart, a mere semi-saint's 3rd transformation. He actually persisted under him for so long. Although he did not try his best, this man's talent is also top-notch, not inferior to himself. And of course, He did not want to recruit Chu Yuan because of his strong talent. But he was old, money, and using the Sacred Venerable's calendar completely would make him decline rapidly. The loss of life will be accelerated. Even if he kills the other party, it will not be worth it for him. Therefore, weighing the pros and cons, he wanted to defeat Chu Yuan at the lowest cost and bring back the Star Ancient Sect. But the result was not satisfactory. Chu Yuan's terror was beyond his imagination, and it was difficult to suppress him with ordinary sacred venerable strength. In other words, it will take a long time. Moreover, Chu Yuan had so many treasures on him that he didn't know where they came from, and they were all very high level, which even made him shudder. This also led to the fact that when he did not fully use the power of Sacred Venerable, the gap in strength between the two narrowed again. Hearing what Xinglua Patriarch said, Chu Yuan sneered and said, "I don't need to know. I only know that Sacred Venerable is right in front of me." Hearing this, Xinglua Patriarch snorted coldly. "I really should bring out the divine weapon, so that I can easily suppress this person." Before leaving the Xingqian Ancient Sect, the leader of the Sun and Moon Sect suggested that he carry the Sun, Moon, and Star Seal with him. But he thought at the time that as a Saint Venerable level, he was invincible in the world. Using divine weapon to deal with a person with low cultivation is completely unnecessary. However, now he regrets it. Xinglua Patriarch said, "Although I can't figure out your origins, but I can guess that you must be the ancestor of a large sect that was expelled from our sect. I advise you to turn back from your mistakes. Going against the Sacred Land will be the most wrong decision in your life. The heritage of Sacred Land is beyond your imagination." Hearing this, Chu Yuan suddenly laughed out loud, and then his expression became playful. "Hee. It seems that you have some misunderstandings about the word heritage. Long existence does not mean that the heritage must be deep and straight. In my opinion, your Xingqian Ancient Sect only has the advantage of divine weapon." Xinglua Patriarch roughly understood what he meant, and his face turned completely cold. It seems that I was too tolerant of Xingqian Ancient Sect, so he didn't understand the true meaning of Sacred Venerable. Finally, Xinglua Patriarch lifted the restrictions on his body. The whole person suddenly burst into dazzling golden light. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites shared the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 59, Part 1. The terrifying Saint Venerable level aura is like a pillar of light that shoots up into the sky and piercing the universe. Although the Tianyin realm can travel the universe, it is possible to encounter unexpected events in the unknown starry sky. The Daoan realm is safer, and can rely on Taoism to predict danger and avoid it in advance. But only by truly reaching the Saint Venerable level can you transmigrate the universe safely. Without the help of any flying law weapon, you can cross the star domain and reach other star domains. This is something that the Daoan realm and the Tianyin realm can't do at all. Deg. As Xinglua Patriarch showed his true Saint Venerable level strength, the terrible pressure was like a substance, filling the entire space. The whole sky was shaking, and Chu Yuan's body was constantly suppressed by this force. Falling down, unable to maintain the same height as Xinglua Patriarch. This is the pride of Sacred Venerable. If you don't become a saint, you are still immortal. This huge gap cannot be crossed. Wonderful. It's so wonderful. Chu Yuan was extremely excited, as if he couldn't feel the oppression around him, and he gently inhaled a breath of holy air with a happy face. This is the feeling. He left the sect for 30 years, traveled all over Beidou, and stepped into the starry sky, just to pursue this feeling. Today, he must get what he wants. The terrible battle of the Saint Venerable level suddenly escalated. The holy power of one side suddenly erupted, and the huge holy power seemed to cover half of the land of Hong Kong Island. Countless cultivators were terrified, and this terrible holy power seemed to foreshadow the arrival of the end of the world. This holy power forcibly overwhelmed the other holy power, and the realms of both sides were no longer equal. However, the weaker side had a dazzling holy power. Crazy release of all power quickly collided with another majestic holy power. The battle lasted for many days, and the battlefield kept changing, from the sky to the ground, then into the void, and finally even rushed into the starry sky. Someone saw that one of the parties reached out and grabbed a huge star, swung it and smashed it at the other party. The stars of tens of thousands of miles were like toys in their hands, within reach. Boom! Star fragments fell from the starry sky and hit the land of Beidou, forming a huge pit of tens of millions of miles. Just as everyone was concentrating on the battle in the starry sky, no one noticed that a figure soared into the sky, stepped into the starry sky, and covered the battlefield with a wave of his hand. Chu Tian was already in the starry sky, with the bright stars of the Yanhuang realm under his feet and the gorgeous, lonely, and deep universe in front of him. The universe is full of unknown dangers. The corpse of the prehistoric big villain occasionally floated by, and even if the cultivators of the asking realm touched it, they would instantly turn into water. There are even more terrifying cosmic streamers that can kill ordinary practitioners in the realm of Taoism in an instant. There are many large stars with prosperous life in the universe. But there are more dead stars that have lost their luster and have uneven surfaces. These stars may have been glorious at some point in the past 420, but they all fell in the long river of time and became relics of the changing times. Chu Tian exudes a faint white light all over his body, not only the strong men of the Yinhuang realm. Whether looking up or looking far away with the help of the law treasure, they can't see him. Even Chu Yuan and Xinglua Patriarch, who were fighting fiercely not far away, could not detect his existence. At this time, he was more like a transparent person. Chu Tian set out from the holy demon mountain and came all the way to Tazhou. He found Chu Yuan's traces and sensed the fluctuations of his fierce battle with Xinglua Patriarch. Then, he used the Demon Ancestor's god-killing spear to quietly erase all traces, dissipated the causal connection between heaven and earth in every place where Chu Yuan and Xinglua Patriarch stayed. No matter who it is no longer possible to deduce what happened on the spot. Even Xinglua Patriarch, who is at the Saint Venerable level and possesses the power of cause and effect, is no exception. All of this was wiped out by Chu Tian and disappeared completely. After completing this, he stepped into the starry sky and came to the periphery of the battlefield between the two. For Chu Yuan's battle, Chu Tian planned to let him experience the power of Sacred Venerable first. Although Chu Yuan had been beaten black and blue, seriously injured and dying, Chu Tian was not in a hurry at all, showing so much strength. If there are people with ulterior motives, I'm afraid that my father's holy demon mountain will be exposed. Even in the starry sky, the space is more stable, but under the holy power of the two, the starry sky was broken, and the more terrifying void was revealed. The terrible void storm emerged, forming a doomsday scene. Since Chu Tian promised his father to deal with the cause and effect, he will do it thoroughly. After all, this is a major event related to the holy demon mountain, and it cannot be sloppy. They act cautiously, and the most taboo is exposure. Buzz. Chu Tian spread out his palm, and the ancient Demon Ancestor killing god spear containing the aura of Hongming was quietly suspended there. The aura of the Demon Ancestor killing god spear was restrained and invisible, and was perfectly controlled by Chu Tian. At this moment, he wanted to use the Demon Ancestor god spear to perform a special Taoist method. Cover up this starry sky and hide the sight of the Yinhuang realm's strong men. Go! Chu Tian pointed his finger together, and the small Demon Ancestor god-killing spear flew out immediately. Floating in the sky above the Yinhuang realm, he shook it gently 3 times, and a layer of imperceptible light curtain covered the Yinhuang realm. This is an illusion array. If the scene outside the Yinhuang realm is directly blocked, instead, it will arouse the curiosity of some powerful forces, and they will try every means to explore here. It is better to lay down an illusion array and let them guess for a while, and wait for the battle to end. 1 layer is not safe enough. You have to add a few more layers. There are many fierce people in the Yinhuang realm, and there are all kinds of people. There is no guarantee that there will be no accidents. The cautious Chu Tian flicked his fingers and then formed seals with his hands. Continuously played 99 illusion arrays, layered on top of each other, and strengthened on the illusion array laid by the Demon Ancestor god-killing spear. Suddenly, multiple light curtains gathered into a thick layer, like clouds, and finally faded until it disappeared. To the naked eye, it seemed as if there was nothing. After doing all this, Tatian took out another talisman. It was pasted on the starry sky of Yinhuang realm, firmly suppressing the profound mystery of cause and effect here. It should be almost done. This way, I can feel at ease. When you go out, be careful with every step. The strong men in Yinhuang realm did not notice anything unusual, and they enjoyed watching the spectacular scene in the starry sky. Sacred Venerable's every move, the Taoism is naturally revealed, and the words are followed by the law. Chapter 59, Part 2. If you can understand 1 or 2 from it, you will benefit a lot. Many long-lived elders in ancient regions came out of their retreat and watched the battle with hope. The Tao platform in the body rotates, the infant transformation blooms, the soul of Tianyin is agitated, and it tries to analyze the moves of the 2 giants in the starry sky. It's too strong. Is this Sacred Venerable? It is said that Sacred Venerable is difficult to kill. Today, I see that the ancients did not lie to me. The holy power of one side has been weakened to the extreme, and the other side has spent so much time and still has not killed it. That's right. He has been defeated, but he quickly reunited the sacred body and fought again. In a city, in the center of a huge square, there is a kilometer-wide mirror. This mirror is a special law weapon that can peek into the scene in the starry sky. At this time, tens of millions of people are surrounding the square. Some people stand on the ground, and some people float in the air, staring at the picture in the mirror intently and exclaiming from time to time, "When can they reach such strength?" Chu Tian turned his eyes to Chu Yuan and Xinglua Patriarch. Although Xinglua Patriarch lifted the restrictions on Sacred Venerable, his strength has greatly increased. But he originally only had the cultivation of Sacred Venerable's second layer, and now his lifespan is about to end. His chi and blood are exhausted, and his strength is no longer as strong as before. Therefore, Chu Yuan, who relies on the quasi-divine weapon, can fight with all his strength. However, this battle is extremely difficult. Chu Yuan's black robe has been damaged, revealing the golden silk soft armor inside. This is the quasi-emperor soft armor obtained from Chu Tian, which can isolate and calculate, and has extremely strong protection. The right side of his bronze mask has been broken, exposing his right eye and right forehead. Chu Yuan was holding a quasi-emperor level hatchet in his hand. It was simple and natural. Although the blade had a gap, it was extremely sharp. Even Xinglua Patriarch did not have such equipment and fought with Chu Yuan for so long. If he did not have 2 quasi-emperor level law treasures, he would have killed Yuan long ago. He was indignant. How could this man be so rich and powerful? He was armed with apex-level law treasures all over his body. Like an indestructible turtle, he finally defeated Chu Yuan once. In the blink of an eye, Chu Yuan escaped and recondensed the sacred body. Chu Yuan panted. His face flushed and said, "Come on, Xinglua boy, don't be a coward. If you can't kill me today, you will die." He has noticed that Xinglua Patriarch is unable to do it. This is the exhaustion of internal strength. The other party must be too old. Xinglua Patriarch was furious and said, "You are still wet behind the ears. Don't get carried away and fight with me for so long. You have left too many mysteries and causes and effects. You and the sect behind you will be found out later. When the time comes, not only you, but your sect will also pay the price." After hearing this, Chu Yuan laughed loudly, without fear, and said, "Let the sect behind me pay the price? You have to ask those old guys with bad tempers if they agree." In the distance, Chu Tian also smiled slightly, although he didn't know the collective foundation of Shima Mountain. But he knew that a mere sacred venerable wanted to make Shima Mountain pay the price. "I'm afraid that if they go in, they will still be standing, and the people of the Ancient Star Sect will have to hold the urn when they come out." Chu Yuan's disdain for the Ancient Star Sect and his words completely angered the Xinglua Patriarch. The Sun and Moon Saint Emperor is their belief, and the Ancient Star Sect is their bond. Do not allow others to insult, let alone despise. You are still wet behind the ears today. You will definitely die. The Xinglua Patriarch was angry, put his hands together, and his eyes burst into brilliant red and blue divine light. The red and blue divine light burst out from the eyes of the Xinglua Patriarch, as if illuminating the entire starry sky. Boom! At the end of the red and blue divine light, a sun and a moon appeared. The dazzling light shook dozens of dead stars around into powder. The terrible power shattered the starry sky. At this moment, the Xinglua Patriarch seemed no longer old, and his blood was boiling. The terrifying sacred venerable aura was enough to crush Chu Yuan on the opposite side. At this moment, he was the real sacred venerable. He seemed to have returned to his youth, when his strength was at its peak. Is this sacred venerable? I am looking forward to it even more. Chu Yuan's teeth trembled involuntarily, the terrifying aura of the Saint Venerable level. Even if it was just a trace, it could tear him apart now. He finally saw what Sacred Venerable was. The name Sacred Venerable came from this. This is not a power that mortals can master. Once mastered, they can transcend it into saints. One chi transforms into 3 purities. Great Principle Heavenly Sword Art. Chu Yuan did not retreat, but instead was full of fighting spirit. He exhaled, transformed into 2 other selves, and took out 2 holy weapons from Grotto Heaven and gave them to the 2. Afterwards, the 3 of them joined forces to perform the Great Principle Heavenly Sword Art. This is a powerful sword technique learned from Chu Tian, which is extremely powerful. Once used, it is enough to split a piece of starry sky and easily shatter the stars. The brilliant sword light gathered, and a colorful sword light condensed above the 3 people's heads. It was thousands of miles long and still expanding. The surrounding dead stars were torn apart instantly when they touched the sword light. I have been in the Big Dipper for thousands of years, and you are the first person to force me into such a situation. Today, you will die with honor. The bright light in Xinglua Patriarch's eyes was dazzling. The sun and the moon shot out from a distance, and they merged into a red and blue light ball. It hung there, and the surrounding starry sky of hundreds of thousands of miles collapsed. The void storm was about to sweep, but it was destroyed by the power of the light ball. When Xinglua Patriarch saw Chu Yuan's moves, although he saw the power of the sword art, he didn't think it was a big deal. Compared with the sacred magic inherited from his ancient Xingqian sect, it was not worth mentioning at all. Don't be too happy before the victory or defeat is decided. Chu Yuan sneered. His mood was not affected, and he was still trying his best to burst out his strength. You know nothing about the power of sacred venerable, Xinglua Patriarch hummed, and then drove the red and blue light ball to approach Chu Yuan. Chu Tian in the distance watched the battle between the two quietly, his face calm. Although the scene caused by the two was extremely terrifying, it was not enough to intimidate him. After glancing at the illusion array above the Yin Huang realm and confirming that it was not affected, Chu Tian looked at Chu Yuan, and the great principal heavenly sword art was a levelless skill he got by signing in. Although the level was unknown, the power was amazing. Chapter 59, Part 3. However, facing the Saint Venerable level strongman who was going all out, Chu Yuan, who was not at the right level, could not compete with Xinglua Patriarch even if the three of them joined forces to perform the great principal heavenly sword art. Because the means used by Xinglua Patriarch seemed to be a sacred spell left by the former Sun and Moon Saint Emperor, which was extremely powerful. Combined with his sacred venerable second layer cultivation, it burst out with incredible terrifying power. Once Chu Yuan confronted him head-on, at most he could only injure Xinglua Patriarch, and he himself would be instantly crushed into ashes by the red and blue light ball. Dad, you are still a little short of the fire. Chu Tian's mouth curled up slightly, thinking of this dad when he was in Zizai Palace. Not only did he often beat him, but he also always liked to take his things. When he left 30 years ago, he went to the innate peach tree area and packed several innate peaches, saying, "Your mother loves to eat them." If Chu Tian stopped him, he would say, "Don't you know your mother's temper? She wants to eat, but you don't give it to her? Do you want to be flattered?" Now seeing his father being beaten, he also watched happily for a long time. However, he still has a sense of propriety in his heart. If he doesn't help, he may not have a father to call in the future. He naturally saw that Chu Yuan wanted to take the opportunity to break through to the holy venerable realm, so he had to be strategic in helping. Chu Tian flicked his fingers lightly, and a stream of light flashed through the two people's spiritual sense and penetrated into the body of the ancestor. Crack! With a crisp sound, the face of Xinglua Patriarch changed, and he found that the Dao platform was cracked when he looked inside. The Dao platform was formed naturally, with a height of 10 layers, and contained his understanding of the great Dao of heaven and earth. It also hides his 1,000-year understanding of the holy Dao, which is indestructible, but it suddenly cracked. As soon as the Dao platform cracked, his great Dao had defects, Dao injuries emerged, and a mouthful of reverse blood suddenly rushed up his throat. Xinglua Patriarch suppressed the reverse blood, and was horrified in his heart. Am I really old? This is the result of a little full-strength attack. The Dao platform was broken, and the Dao injury was difficult to repair. I am afraid that he will not be able to make any further progress in the future, and will always stagnate in the sacred venerable second layer. Damn it! Xinglua Patriarch was angry and anxious, staring at Chu Yuan. All this is your fault, causing my Dao platform to break. You deserve to die. But even if he was angry, Xinglua Patriarch still maintained his rationality. The cracked Dao platform reminded him that he had used too much force and had to reduce his strength. So he quickly reduced his strength, and the red and blue light ball he drove instantly shrank several circles, and the terrifying aura was restrained a lot. But it was still very scary. Seeing this, Chu Tian flicked his fingers again, and a stream of light drilled into Chu Yuan's body and reached his Dao platform directly. This stream of light contains a special Taoism, and contains the understanding of the holy venerable realm, which is integrated into the Dao platform. When Chu Yuan reacts, he will only think that it is his own sudden enlightenment. This is better than Chu Tian's direct help. After all, the holy venerable realm is too critical. If Chu Yuan knows that his understanding of the holy venerable level comes from others, it may cause damage to the Tao heart and greatly affect future potential. Boom. Sure enough, as Chu Yuan suddenly realized the understanding of the holy venerable level, his strength suddenly skyrocketed, and he is already a talent. On the basis of Chu Tian's help in his understanding, he also realized something on his own. His second foot has stepped in front of the door of the holy venerable level, and his toes have reached the door. His great principle heavenly sword art points directly to the depths of the universe, as if one knife can tear the starry sky apart. Chapter 60, Part 1. Seeing this, Chu Tian turned and left without stopping. The ending was obvious. Xinglua Patriarch would definitely lose. No, he would definitely die. To be on the safe side, Chu Tian cast a spell in the starry sky. In case of any change, this spell can help Chu Yuan kill Xinglua Patriarch. Then, Chu Tian took back the Demon Ancestor's god-killing spear hanging above the Yin Huang realm, and instead offered a bronze bell. This is a great saint weapon engraved with the law of illusion and seal. It is enough to replace the Demon Ancestor's god-killing spear and temporarily control the hundreds of layers of illusion array. However, the cautious Chu Tian cast another spell. Nearly 500 layers of illusion array were activated to prevent the secrets here from being peeped by outsiders. After all, Yinhuang realm is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, and there are too many terrible old monsters, so it is better to be safe than sorry. After doing this, Chu Tian left the starry sky around Yinhuang realm. He went out this time. Helping Chu Yuan solve the cause and effect problem was just a side job. The main purpose is that he is about to cross a great realm and needs to pass the heavenly tribulation. I don't believe it. Suddenly, Chu Tian, who has been far away from the Yinhuang realm, heard an unwilling roar from the other side. Chu Tian left the Yinhuang realm and came to the depths of a dark star domain, surrounded by dead stars with no signs of life. Here, transcending tribulation is much safer, and few people will come to such a place full of dead stars. Of course, as a young man with ambitions to learn Go Dao, necessary precautions cannot be missed. For his own strength, Chu Tian has always hidden it if he can, and will not show it to others easily. This is the tradition of Shengma Mountain. Go Dao culture is profound, and Yuan's Saint Master is really a god. Chu Tian is full of respect for this ancestor who has never met but has similar interests. Swish. Chu Tian waved his hand, and 8 flags of different colors were inserted on 8 dead stars in different directions. The 8 flags are linked to each other, and the tips of the flags emit 8-color divine light, forming a special concealed formation to cover this starry sky. Under the starry sky, under the effect of the concealment formation, Chu Tian's figure gradually disappeared in the starry sky. Even if a strong person passed by, it would be extremely difficult to detect. Crack! Chu Tian looked up at the starry sky, no longer suppressing the realm in his body. In an instant, a terrifying aura emanated from Chu Tian. Hundreds of stars around were almost shattered into powder in an instant, unable to withstand the force. The thunderclouds rolled, covering the starry sky, and it was particularly dazzling in the quiet starry sky. The blue-purple lightning was as thick as 100 meters, and the law of destruction was entangled above it. Heavenly tribulation. Since the end of the law era, before the Saint Venerable realm, there was no need for transcending tribulation to break through the realm, and the heavenly Tao no longer sent down tests. But to reach the Saint Venerable realm, you still need to go through the heavenly tribulation. Sacred Venerable is extraordinary. The heavenly Tao will send down the heavenly tribulation test, and if you survive this tribulation, you will be the sacred Venerable between heaven and earth. Suddenly, when lightning and thunder roared, dozens of figures condensed in the thunderclouds. Each of them seemed to have been the protagonist of the world, with terrifying aura and thousands of laws surrendered with every move. Huh. The prelude thunder tribulation test is skipped. The law imprint appears directly. In the past, Chu Tian transcending tribulation, there was also innate thunder tribulation to baptize the body, which was considered a prelude test. After passing it, thunder tribulation will drop specific law imprints according to your potential. But this time, the prelude thunder tribulation did not appear, and nearly 60 law imprints fell at the beginning. The owner of each imprint seemed to have been the master of the world, with a terrifying aura. In addition, more law imprints appeared from the thunderclouds, which were majestic. Walking like a dragon and a tiger, with every move, all the ways bowed down to him. It's several times more than last time. As expected, in the Dharma ending period, even the heavenly tribulation has become so terrifying. Every step forward taken by a cultivator is a fight with the heaven for the chance to survive. Chu Tian's face was calm, and he stepped into the void, actually heading towards those terrifying figures. Boom! With just one punch, a young man in a golden robe condensed by the heavenly tribulation exploded. When the young man in the golden robe condensed his body again, he looked at Chu Tian in disbelief. He actually spoke human words. Are the younger generation now so terrifying? With his strength, he was almost assassinated. Thinking back then, he was a figure who dominated for a time, and was once the protagonist of the world. It's true that the waves behind push the waves ahead, and the new generation replaces the old. A middle-aged man in a green robe came over, with an ordinary appearance and a thin figure. But every step was accompanied by the resonance of the great Tao, and a brilliant golden light appeared under his feet. Behind him, a lotus flower bloomed, pure and dazzling, and extremely holy. Chu Tian looked at him. This person's strength is the best among these law marks. Among the same level, he is definitely the top existence. You cried and told me that the stories and fairy tales are all lies. Just as Chu Tian transcending tribulation, he was inside a dead planet in the starry sky. In an ancient mountain range, a chubby young man broke out of the ground. The young man had a round face, a plump figure, and huge earlobes. Wearing a tattered Taoist robe full of patches, holding a bronze compass in his hand. After he emerged from the soil, he patted the bronze compass in his hand and said with a smile, "What a good treasure. I have been born for 300 years, and I can dig so many treasures, all thanks to you. Kiss, kiss." The fat young man kissed the bronze compass passionately, and a trace of vulgarity suddenly flashed across his plump face, as if this was his nature. On the surface, he was harmless and naive, but in fact, it was all disguise. His creed is, one thing on the surface, another behind the scenes. This is why he can run rampant in the star domain. He traveled to nearly 1,000 life planets and still lived so freely. However, for the fat young man, there is one thing that is extremely serious and sacred, which cannot be underestimated and must be taken seriously. That is, tomb robbing. Although he was doing tomb robbing, but he would give the tomb owner the last dignity, kneeling 3 times and bowing 9 times before entering the door and burning incense. After coming out, he would also take out copper coins and sprinkle white wine. Finally, he kowtowed to thank the tomb owner for the treasures he had given him. Wuxian Sacred Venerable, I am grateful. The fat young man shook his head, took out the copper coins and sprinkled them, which turned into a yin-yang fish pattern. Then he poured white wine on the black fish pattern. He knelt on the white fish pattern and bowed sincerely. Chapter 60, Part 2. This bow was to express his gratitude for the wealth left by the tomb owner after his death, which made him successful. Suddenly, after Jinbao finished bowing, the yin-yang fish pattern formed by the copper coins on the ground actually emitted divine light. It started to rotate, and there seemed to be a voice speaking to Jinbao in the dark. My immortal ancestors. The voice was intermittent and could not be heard clearly, but it can be heard that the owner of the voice wanted to cut him with a knife to express his anger. You said you stole my burial objects, and I have to thank you? You really deserve to be struck by lightning. Jinbao seemed not to hear it, pretending to stand up solemnly, then bowed again and said, I will remember your teachings in my heart, and you don't have to thank me for inheriting your legacy. In the future, your treasures will be in my hands, and I will make them flourish. In the future, Wuxian Sacred Venerable will be one of my nobles. After saying that, Jinbao flicked his fingers together, and a stream of light shot out from his fingertips and landed on the yin-yang fish pattern. Suddenly, the yin-yang fish pattern flowed, and a yin-yang fish of 100 miles appeared in the starry sky, and then scattered. All the copper coins turned into halos and dissipated between heaven and earth. The little starlight completely annihilated the remaining soul fragments of Wuxian Sacred Venerable. Jinbao, who had handled everything, had a signature smile on his face and was about to put away the bronze compass in his hand. Suddenly, the needle of the bronze compass vibrated violently. It emitted a mysterious law and pointed to a clear direction, and the tip of the needle shone with golden light. Jinbao was startled and looked in the direction of the pointer. Is that the direction of Yinhuang Star Domain? The bronze compass was a law treasure he got by chance, which has the ability to find treasures. And whether it was intentional or unintentional, every time it pointed to a place, there would always be an ancient tomb. Jinbao guessed that the original owner of this compass must have a special hobby, the same hobby as him. Jinbao counted with his fingers and suddenly frowned. Bad feeling? Although Yinhuang Star Domain is one of the largest star domains in the universe. But in this era, who can threaten me with so many treasures? Just don't provoke those apex-level sacred lands, right? Jinbao was very cautious and calculated repeatedly to confirm that this ominous sign was not a matter of life and death, but it might bring some bad luck. Considering the strong reaction of the compass, it might be a big tomb. Why not? Go and have a look. Boom. Suddenly, in the direction of Yinhuang Star Domain, a shocking wave broke out. A vast divine power surged out from the Yinhuang Star Domain and rushed towards the starry sky. The dead and silent star domain where Jinbao was located was far away from the Yinhuang Star Domain. But with his eyesight, he could still see the distant horizon of the starry sky. A golden light column appeared, connecting the starry sky and the earth. The rich divine power was like substance, even at such a distance. Jinbao could feel the fat on his body trembling involuntarily. This was the natural reaction of low-level cultivators facing high-level cultivators. The word pressure was more direct and more terrifying than tsunamis and collapses. To put it bluntly, a fart from a master could kill a group of people. This was also a kind of pressure. After the divine power light column appeared, the bronze compass in Jinbao's hand actually emitted a special law fluctuation. The pointer shook more violently, pointing directly to the direction of the Yinhuang Star Domain. At this moment, Jinbao also understood. The large tomb in the Yinhuang Star Domain that was locked by the compass was not the great saint's tomb, nor the quasi-emperor's tomb. It's the emperor's mausoleum. Boundless heavenly lord, there's a saying that goes, a fellow Taoist dies, but a poor Taoist dies. There's another saying that's also true. Fortune is sought in danger. Jinbao, who is greedy for money, can no longer suppress his inner desire. His green bean-like eyes are round and round, flashing with greed, and his mouth is almost drooling. I've been robbing tombs for more than 300 years, and I've seen all kinds of big tombs, but I've never encountered the Emperor Venerable's mausoleum. What will the smell of the Emperor's mausoleum be like? It should smell very good, right? Zhen Bao's nose moved, and he looked intoxicated and showed a perverted look. Heavenly venerable, I smell the smell of treasures. They are waving to the winding road. 0, seeking flowers. But it didn't take long for him to get worried. The appearance of the Emperor's mausoleum. The fluctuations caused are so huge that they must have attracted the attention of all the major forces in the Yanhuang realm. Maybe now, they are ready to go and gather towards the Emperor's mausoleum. Even those apex-level sacred land practitioners will not be absent. After all, the appearance of an ancient tomb of the Emperor's mausoleum will inevitably make them excited. The Emperor Venerable is full of treasures, and the used items are stained with the Emperor Venerable's aura. It is also extremely precious, so the Emperor's mausoleum will inevitably cause everyone to fight for it. Some of the weaker ones may give way to the apex-level sacred land on the surface, but in fact, they will definitely try every means to seize an Emperor Venerable item behind the scenes. The road to cultivating immortals is to fight with people in the heavenly chamber. Faced with such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, too many people will desperately want to seize it. This will also lead to an extremely chaotic situation. Chaos means danger, but Zhen Bao's round face flashed with cunning. There are opportunities in chaos, especially for me. This compass will definitely allow me to avoid others' exploration and get to the Imperial Mausoleum first. Thinking of this, Zhen Bao was so excited that his fat body trembled. Unable to suppress his desire any longer, he quickly took out a bronze flying boat from Grotto Heaven. He got this flying boat from an ancient tomb, whose owner was a powerful Saint King from ancient times. This bronze flying boat was a treasure made by a Transcendent Level Great Master at the request of the Saint King. Over the years, Zhen Bao has relied on his cultivation in the Tianyan realm, traveling in the starry sky for 300 years, mostly thanks to this bronze flying boat. Just do it. The brave will die of overeating, and the timid will die of starvation. I'm going. Oh. Zhen Bao struggled to open a passage to the starry sky, which was the ancient starry road left by the ancient monks. For monks below the Saint Venerable level, the ancient starry road is the safest passage, and there will not be too many life and death crises. Zhen Bao, who had lost his mind, was completely immersed in the 3 words, Emperor's Mausoleum. Driving the bronze flying boat into the ancient starry road, he disappeared without a trace. He, who has always been cautious, also threw the danger behind him at this time. If Chu Tian knew about this, he would definitely shake his head and sigh. It's really a rotten wood that can't be carved. Chapter 60, Part 3. Ignoring the matter of life and death. How can it be called cautious? His understanding is not deep enough. At the same time, Chu Tian, who was in transcending tribulation Tian, also felt the vast divine power erupting from the Yanhuang realm. At this moment, although he was besieged by dozens of terrifying figures, although he was surrounded by amazing Taoism, he still turned his head to look in the direction of the Yanhuang realm. He narrowed his eyes, counted with his fingers, and whispered, "It's so soon to be born? Now the Dao realm can barely approach the Emperor's mausoleum within 1,000 miles. As expected, I'm afraid that the ancestors of the apex-level sacred land have used the great divine ability and are about to enter the Emperor's mausoleum." Thinking of this, Chu Tian knew that he couldn't stay here for too long. According to his plan, he was waiting for this moment. As long as the divine power of the Emperor's mausoleum weakened slightly, he would have the confidence to avoid the secret peeping of those apex level and other places carrying divine weapons. He could sneak into the Emperor's mausoleum with Xinqing first and take away what he needed. This way, he could avoid others, and it was the safest way. But now the sudden changes in the Emperor's mausoleum are still a little earlier than Chu Tian expected. It is estimated that those apex-level sacred what means did land used to lead to such a result? They can't wait any longer. We have to speed up. We can't comprehend the Emperor Venerable Law anymore. Originally, Chu Tian was wandering among these Emperor Venerable Law marks. By constantly fighting with them, he felt these Emperor Venerable Laws that had been cultivated to the peak. Although each Emperor Venerable has a different cultivation direction, they all eventually reached the peak of Great Dao and made all the Dao surrender. Although Chu Tian has mastered many Emperor Venerable texts, he doesn't have many opportunities to directly comprehend the Emperor Venerable Law. I wanted to take the opportunity of transcending tribulation to comprehend it, but now it seems that he is in a hurry. Heaven, sun, God, moon. A blond young man in a red and blue Taoist robe swooped down, with a terrifying momentum and pressure on the starry sky. His fists condensed the power of the sun and the moon, and he could easily crush the stars. Chu Tian, whose thoughts were interrupted, glanced at him and hummed, "Sun Moon Saint Emperor, you are the most active in every transcending tribulation. How can you show your presence?" "Boy, don't be so arrogant. Sun Moon Saint Emperor has blonde hair and extraordinary handsomeness. He is worthy of being the protagonist of a generation of supreme. Every move shows dignity. That is the majesty of Emperor Venerable. It's your descendants who are too arrogant. If they keep jumping like this, Emo will ruin your family. If you provoke someone you shouldn't provoke, you can also raise apex-level sacred land to the ground. Chu Tian saw Sun Moon Saint Emperor coming to kill him. His expression was indifferent, and he was about to take action. There were nearly 20 Dao Emperors rushing around. Everyone's breath was terrifying, crushing the starry sky and wailing, and the whole body resonated with thousands of Dao. Among them, the most terrifying was a middle-aged man in green clothes with an ordinary appearance. The white lotus behind him was in full bloom, and billions of flowers bloomed on the thousands of Dao. Blooming with brilliant sacred light, millions of divine rays fell, forming a divine river like a waterfall. Qing Profound Emperor Zuanfan. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up. Again. Chapter 61, Part 1. Legend has it that he once pushed open a corner of the immortal gate and almost broke through the imprisonment and rushed through. But in the end, he still failed, spilled blood on the immortal road, fell in front of the immortal gate, and slept here forever. Qing Profound Emperor Zun is the best among Emperor Venerables, and his body is a lotus between heaven and earth. Born at the beginning of the creation of opening heaven, he awakened his spiritual wisdom after billions of years and embarked on the road of cultivating immortals. Qing Profound Emperor Zun has been making great progress since his cultivation. Rarely encountering an opponent, he conquered the strong men of Star Domain at a very fast speed and proved to be Dao Emperor. Legend has it that Qing Profound Emperor Zun may be the person who has achieved the Dao of Emperor Venerable in the shortest time since his cultivation. At the same time, he is also a person who is highly respected by Emperor Venerables in the same realm in the future. Qing Profound Emperor Zun joined forces with more than 20 Emperor Venerable law bodies, such as Sun and Moon Saint Emperor, to kill. Chu Tian is surrounded by a mighty holy power. Although he acts cautiously, it does not mean that he has no pride. Chu Tian disdains to compare with those who are not as good as him. He can even lose on purpose when fighting with them. This is the pride of the strong. But for these former apex-level strongmen, Chu Tian's competitive spirit is also aroused. His fists are shining like the sun. A huge sun slowly rises behind him, shining and overwhelming. Sun Fist Sutra. This is the Emperor Venerable Fist that Chu Tian taught Sure how to practice. He is also practicing it himself and has made great achievements. The sun behind him is like a real entity, with amazing heat, melting the starry sky. The whole person turned into a dazzling sun and rushed towards Qing Profound Emperor Zun and others. Boom. He punched the Sun and Moon Saint Emperor, who performed the Sun and Moon Fist. Between the two fists, the space was squeezed, and after breaking, a black hole was formed, and a terrible black wind was rolled up. Plop. The arm of the Sun and Moon Saint Emperor was broken, and then Chu Tian ruthlessly pulled it off, and then kicked it away. The winner was decided. Even if they were at the same level, the former human race Emperor Venerable Sun and Moon Saint Emperor was not Chu Tian's opponent. However, these former venerable level figures were not easy to deal with. 060 saw that although the Sun and Moon Saint Emperor was kicked away, before that, he quickly cast a law and hit Chu Tian. In an instant, Chu Tian felt as if his body was tortured by both ice and fire. Two forces of the Sun and Moon rushed into his body and rushed straight to the platform. Just as Chu Tian was about to dispel this force, the Profound Emperor had already attacked. At the same time, a middle-aged man carrying a sun on his back also rushed over suddenly, similar to Chu Tian. Just one punch made Chu Tian lose his balance and almost fall. After Chu Tian resisted the attack of Qing Profound Emperor and repelled it, he locked his eyes on the man who punched and narrowed his eyes slightly. Sun Saint Emperor. The middle-aged man who punched had a firm face, sharp edges, and a calm expression. His fists were like burning suns, and the sun vision behind him was no less impressive than Chu Tian's. Since you practice my boxing, you must face me and defeat me. After the Sun Saint Emperor finished speaking, his body began to burn, activating the Sun Bible. At this time, he was no longer as hot as the sun. Chu Tian frowned slightly and used the Sun Bible to activate the Sun Fist Sutra, and the two complemented each other. The power burst from the same source has surpassed the Qing Profound Emperor, who has always been low-key. Sure enough, the Emperor Venerable Level and other strong men, the darlings of the times, are not fuel-saving lamps. Then I won't hide it. Chu Tian was indeed anxious and no longer suppressed his strength. He released nearly 70% of his power, sweeping through many former human race Emperor Venerables. As time went by, his strength became more and more amazing. Even the Qing Profound Emperor, who had always been calm, was moved. How could this person become more and more courageous in battle? Is his strength unfathomable? How much is hidden? The Qing Profound Emperor was confused. This was hidden too deeply for him to see through. Tai Ching Xian Sword Art. Chu Tian drew his sword and slashed out the Emperor Dao sword art. With one swing of the sword, the starry sky shone. Tai Ching Xian sword art. Suddenly, there seemed to be a strange phenomenon between heaven and earth. It was the growth process of a grass. A grass, practicing sword Dao with ordinary grass, dominated an era, using grass as a sword, cut off the way of heaven and earth. Tai Ancient Emperor. Chu Tian had never expected that there was Tai Ancient Emperor hidden in the crowd. Seeing him use the Tai Ching Xian sword art, the other party no longer concealed it. Tai Ancient Emperor sword Dao is unparalleled. He proved the position of Emperor venerable with the body of ordinary grass and dominated the universe and the stars. He is an immortal legend. Chu Tian held the sword, and Tai Ancient Emperor used his body as a sword. The two swords clashed, stirring up a terrifying interstellar space storm. The powerful power of the law forced the Emperor Venerable's law bodies that wanted to approach around to retreat. The sword energy is unstoppable. It is enough to kill the Emperor Venerable of the same level. Crack. The holy sword in Chu Tian's hand broke, and Tai Ancient Emperor's sword Dao was extremely terrifying. He felt that Tai Ancient Emperor in his peak period could cut through the universe with his sword. He was shocked back. In this confrontation with Tai Ancient Emperor, his sword Dao was slightly inferior. But in terms of overall strength, In Igu Huang was far inferior to him. Chu Tian was forced back by Tai Ancient Emperor, who turned into a sword body. But the opponent was also repelled tens of thousands of miles by a terrifying holy force. He also automatically left his grass body and turned into a cloth-clothed boy. He looked ordinary, just like a child who climbed trees to get bird eggs in the countryside. Tai Ancient Emperor looked at Chu Tian and nodded, as if he recognized his experience. If we are destined to fight again in the future, see you later. After speaking, Tai Ancient Emperor turned into clouds and dissipated. He acknowledged Chu Tian's strength. From the fight just now, he had seen the horror of Chu Tian's talent, which was far better than any Dao Emperor's body. He had no weaknesses, although he was slightly inferior to him in sword Dao, but the gap was not a day. After all, he specialized in sword Dao, while Chu Tian was well-rounded. If Chu Tian specialized in sword Dao, I am afraid that the two would be evenly matched, even. Suddenly, a melodious tune sounded in the starry sky. A man in white came slowly, graceful and elegant, holding a green bamboo and playing a song. Song of Crossing Immortal Dao Tribulation. The appearance of Transcendent Emperor Venerable one after another made Chu Tian realize the difficulty of this heavenly tribulation. It seems that it will not end in a short time. Chu Tian dodged and began to evacuate. Chapter 61, Part 2. Of course, this is not a real escape, but to buy time. He took out the special sound transmission jade, flicked his fingers, and cast a special law on it. Instantly connected to Shi Hao on the holy demon mountain far away in the Yanhuang realm. Shi Hao, there is a change in the ancient profound emperor mausoleum. Take Xianqing to find the holy demon palace master, and let him take you to Cangzhou to wait for me first. Time is tight, go quickly. Shi Hao, who was far away in Beidou, responded quickly. Disciple understands, master. I will go to the holy demon palace immediately. Chu Tian did not reply again, put away the sound transmission jade, rushed into the crowd, and fought against the 8 emperor venerable law bodies. Free palace. Shi Hao, who had heard the news, did not dare to delay and hurried to the outside of Xianqing's cave mansion. Just as he was about to knock on the door, Xianqing suddenly rushed out. Seeing Shi Hao, he was stunned at first, and then said happily, Brother, quickly contact master. The ancient profound emperor's mausoleum is about to be opened, and the divine power has dropped to the lowest point. Those ancestors of the sacred land are probably preparing to sneak in secretly. Shi Hao heard this and understood that Xianqing, as a reborn person, had sensed the changes in the ancient profound emperor's mausoleum. He relayed Chu Tian's voice transmission, and Xianqing was overjoyed to hear the news and said, Then let's go find the Saint Demon Master Uncle. Shi Hao nodded, and the two were about to act, when suddenly, the freedom official shook slightly. A pressure came from the cave mansion of the Lord of the Samsara Palace mansion surged out, pressing the two men to hunch over, unable to resist. Shi Hao frowned and said, Wandao realm. Uncle Luo has broken through to Wandao realm? Isn't he in the early stage of Tianyin realm? The palace masters of the Holy Demon Mountain are all in Tianyin realm. This is a well-known fact. Although everyone is hiding a hand, this Wandao realm does not pretend to be in the early stage of Tianyin realm. Isn't it too much? Xianqing gritted his teeth and slowly straightened his body, looking at the cave mansion of the palace master of Samsara, and said, Senior Sister Lu, you are still too honest. Although I came late, I may know more about the Holy Demon Mountain than you do. This is an out-and-out old cunning sect. Every disciple and elder you see may know the tradition of our sect and will hide some realm. But please note that it is a billion concealments, not just a little bit. Shi Hao, Xianqing continued, and the older the elders are, the deeper they hide. You can't guess their true level at all. Maybe he is an ordinary elder on the surface, but he is more powerful than the palace master in private. Shihao said with a wry smile. It seems that if you want to get along in the holy demon mountain, this art of hiding strength must be learned thoroughly. I am still too young and have only hidden a little bit. At this time, a huge phantom slowly condensed above the cave mansion of the palace master of Samsara. It was about a kilometer in size, sitting upright, like a god descending from heaven. A glowing platform formed at the abdomen of the phantom. The platform was filled with a sacred atmosphere, and the light was flowing, showing the natural charm of Taoism. The platform condensed the understanding and perception of Taoism by the Lord of Samsara. He integrated everything he had into the Tao platform and turned it into the cornerstone of Taoism. Ha ha ha. A hearty laugh came, and the shadow in the air disappeared. The Lord of Samsara came out, his face ruddy and full of smug smile. He looked 100 years younger in an instant. I have been practicing for less than 500 years, and I have forged the Tao platform and become a strong man in the realm of Taoism. It is also a rare achievement in the entire Big Dipper star domain. It is worthy of me. Shihao stepped forward to congratulate. Congratulations, Master Uncle. Xinqing also said, Congratulations, Master Uncle. Del, the Lord of Samsara smiled and nodded, then took out 2 scrolls and handed them to the two, saying, Here are 2 Tian level exercises. Take them and practice, as a reward from Master Uncle. Shihao and Xinqing looked at each other strangely, and then hurriedly said, Thank you, Uncle Master, for the treasure. Good. The Lord of the Samsara Palace was in a good mood. The frustration he had felt in the secret realm of the Blood Corpse Demon was swept away, and replaced by deep pride. Why didn't I realize that he was so outstanding before? He crossed the threshold of the Tao realm so easily. It's too easy. I always heard Uncle True Spirit talk about how difficult it is to cast a Tao platform. Now I see that it depends entirely on the person. Xinqing was anxious and said, Uncle Master, Senior Sister Lu, and I want to go to the Holy Demon Palace. Zizai Palace is about to be closed. What do you think? The Lord of Samsara Palace, who was in a very good mood, didn't care about Xinqing's implication. Anyway, he had gained enough benefits in Zizai Palace, so there was no need to stay any longer. He said, I understand. Let's go. Uncle Master will personally send you to the Holy Demon Palace. The Lord of Samsara Palace suddenly thought of something. He quickly suppressed his realm back to the 2nd level of Tianyan realm. Looking at Shihao and the others, he warned, You two must remember not to spread the news of Uncle Master's breakthrough. This is a big taboo in the Holy Demon Mountain. Do you understand? Shihao and the other two nodded quickly. This is indeed a big taboo in the Holy Demon Mountain. You told me my true cultivation, so I don't pretend? Okay, let's go. The Lord of the Samsara Palace waved his hand to summon a cloud, which stopped at the feet of the 3 people. Shihao recited the spell, and the wind locked the palace. He and Xinqing left with the Lord of the Samsara Palace and came to the Holy Demon Palace. At this time, in the confidence hall of the Holy Demon Palace, not only the Great Palace was present, even the True Spirit Taoist and the Qinggang Taoist stationed in the Ancestral Land were there. 2 uncles. Uncle Master. After the Lord of the Samsara Palace and the other 2 saluted, the Great Palace Master looked at the 3 people and asked, Why are you here? Xinqing said, Grand Palace Master. Master asked us to come find you. Oh. The Grand Palace Master was a little surprised to hear this and asked, Where is your master? Chu Tian left in a hurry, and the Grand Palace Master hadn't looked for him recently, so he didn't know that he had left the sect. Xinqing said, Master went out to do business a few days ago. Shihao knew that Xinqing must be very anxious at the moment, so he continued, Grand Palace Master. Master asked us and junior brother Xinqing to ask you to take us to the ancient profound Emperor Mausoleum. As soon as these words came out, even True Spirit Taoist and Qinggang Taoist looked over. The reason why they were in the confidence hall was to discuss the matter of the ancient profound Emperor Mausoleum with the Grand Palace Master. They received the news from the Blood Corpse Demon race and learned that the ancient profound Emperor Mausoleum was about to open. Chapter 61, Part 3. The divine power has reached the freezing point, and many major forces are ready to move. The ancient profound Emperor Mausoleum is of great importance. Once involved, it will be very dangerous. Now the Great Ruins is not peaceful. Rumor has it that not only are there powerful forces from the other 4 regions coming secretly, but also that an ancient race has awakened and has come to the ancient profound Emperor Mausoleum, intending to seize the opportunity. These 3 old men who have always been cautious have difficulty making a decision. Once a wrong decision is made, the Holy Demon Mountain may fall into a situation where the myriad tribulations cannot be recovered. And at this moment, Chu Tian actually asked the Grand Palace Master to take his disciples to such a dangerous place. 2 disciples in the Juden realm may die tragically in the aftermath of others' fighting. The Grand Palace Master did not refuse directly. Chu Tian sent a message to her specifically to ask her. There must be a reason. He asked, did your master say why? Sure Hao shook his head. He naturally could not tell the real reason. He replied, Master only asked you to take us there and wait for him. FB. The Grand Palace Master put his hands behind his back and fell into deep thought. What exactly did Chu Tian want to do? True Spirit Taoist thought for a while and said, Holy Demon, you take them first, and I will handle the sect. The Grand Palace Master had to nod his head after hearing this. Since Chu Tian asked him, he could not refuse. After all, it was just sending 2 people. Then the Grand Palace Master took Shu, Hao and Xinqing to the portal of the Holy Demon Mountain, teleported to the city closest to Zhangzhou. 0.8 in the Confidence Hall, True Spirit Taoist and Chen Gang the Taoist looked at each other. The latter frowned and thought for a moment, and finally nodded. Okay. But this kind of scene, I'm afraid it's not enough for us to watch with just our cultivation. Call those old guys too. Let's go to the Ancestral Mausoleum to invite people. On the surface, the Holy Demon Mountain has 2 major foundations. One is the Ancestral Land, and the other is the Ancestral Mausoleum. Since it is a foundation, ordinary disciples cannot know these secrets. Even ordinary elders only know that the Ancestral Land exists, and they don't even know how many ancestors are in charge of the Ancestral Land. Only those elders of the older generation who have served for hundreds of years know more, but it is also extremely limited. Even the palace masters of each palace don't know much. It's not that the sect is keeping it secret. It's really the tradition of the sect that has to be hidden. The only ones who really know are the great palace masters of all generations and the ancestors who have entered the Ancestral Land. These people have really touched the core of the sect. Of course, from some angles, it's just on the surface. When the palace master of Samsara heard that True Spirit Taoist was going to the Ancestral Mausoleum, he immediately became interested. He was about to speak, but True Spirit Taoist glanced at him. He said lightly, the entry conditions of the Ancestral Mausoleum are strict, and you are not qualified with your identity. Chen Gang Taoist was afraid of hurting the pride of the master of Samsara Palace, saying that this was the tradition of the sect, and he did the same in the past. In the past, Zhou Taoist was a highly respected elder on the Holy Demon Mountain, but later he accidentally revealed his true strength in the realm of Taoism. As a result, he was forced by the True Spirit Taoist at that time to enter the Sacred Land, ancestral land of the sect, and announced to the outside world that he had immortal transformation, immortal ascension, and disappeared from the world. At that time, he had only heard of the existence of the Ancestral Mausoleum and had no right to set foot there. The master of Samsara Palace was particularly eager to see the Ancestral Mausoleum with his own eyes. After all, the deepest secrets of the sect are hidden there. Chapter 62, Part 1. Jinbao suddenly exhaled a long breath and looked around. Blinking his eyes, he looked confused and didn't see anything special. He turned to Chu Tian and asked, What do you want to do? I've given you all my treasures. I only have this white silk left now. As he said that, Jinbao shook the white silk of mourning clothes, his tone full of grievances, and he wanted to get angry but didn't dare. He was afraid of being beaten. 2 ways for you to choose. The first one, follow me back to the sect. Before he finished speaking, Jinbao immediately shouted, I choose the second one. Chu Tian narrowed his eyes after hearing this. Not bad. I appreciate your tough guy style. The second one, go to hell. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Tian transformed into a 1,000-meter-long palm and slapped Jinbao. Oh my god. Jinbao's soybean-sized eyes were wide open, and the second option was completely beyond his expectations. Wait. Oh, senior. Please wait a moment. Chu Tian's hand stopped in midair and asked, Have you thought it through? Jinbao had a bitter face. What else could he think? Anyway, he didn't want to die. Meeting Chu Tian was the most unfortunate thing that happened to him in the past 400 years. It was really unlucky. Jinbao asked in a low voice, Which sect are you from, senior? Chu Tian was very powerful. Maybe he came from some powerful sacred land. He could barely accept it. After all, sacred land was rich in resources. If he could go in and become an elder, he would dig graves occasionally. His life would be very happy. Chu Tian said lightly, Daxu, Shengma Mountain. Upon hearing this, Jinbao was stunned. After he came to Yanhuang Realm, he had studied all the forces. This Shengma Mountain was once one of the 9 Transcendent Level sects, and there was also an old ancestor in the realm of Taoism in the sect. This sect is too weak. Jinbao was speechless. He knew that since the emergence of the major ancient clans and the hidden sections, the original 9 Transcendent Level sects were no longer ranked and became history. Even he himself had reached the realm of asking questions and went to the Holy Demon Mountain, the Ancestor. Jinbao was extremely disappointed. He thought Chu Tian was very powerful and might come from the apex level Sacred Land. Unexpectedly, he came from an ordinary sect that was kicked out of the 9 Transcendent Level sections. Chu Tian saw through Zhenbao's thoughts and smiled slightly. Our sect's strength is average on the surface, but you joined the Holy Demon Mountain and became my disciple. Zhenbao was speechless. What's the difference? I admit that Senior 09 is stronger than me. He may be the ancestor of the Holy Demon Mountain, but that's all? Chu Tian's mouth curled up. Since he accepted Shi Hao as his disciple, he has used different ways to subdue each disciple, and he has to teach according to his aptitude. As for dealing with Zhenbao, the method is very simple. Chu Tian looked directly into Zhenbao's eyes. Instantly, a towering giant appeared in Zhenbao's consciousness. He stood there, staring at the stars, emitting a vast holy power. Brilliant holy power. Zhenbao opened his mouth wide, eyes wide, and exclaimed, Great! Great Saint! Oh my God! He is actually Great Saint Venerable Level? It turned out that he had been bargaining with a Great Saint Venerable Level other strongman. Scheming. This is simply playing with fire and getting burned. The rhythm of courting death. After learning about Chu Tian's strength, Zhenbao's pupils trembled, and he murmured, My vision is really too narrow. Is the senior the legendary ancestor of the Dao realm of the Holy Demon Mountain? Zhenbao thought that maybe this person is the legendary ancestor of the Dao realm of the Holy Demon Mountain. He just hid his strength and only revealed his cultivation of the middle stage of the Dao-asking realm. Isn't this too well hidden? After hearing what Zhenbao said, Chu Tian shook his head and smiled. I am only the master of one palace and have not yet touched the core affairs of the Holy Demon Mountain. Only the master of one palace? Zhenbao opened his mouth wide. Is there anyone more powerful than the senior in Shengma Mountain? Chu Tian smiled mysteriously. In Shengma Mountain, I am indeed a small character. You haven't answered me yet. Are you willing to follow me back to the sect? Join Zizai Palace. Zhenbao did not hesitate. If he didn't hug such a thick thigh, he would miss it. He immediately knelt on the ground and said, I am willing to follow the senior back to the sect. Master, please? Chu Tian interrupted him. No hurry, I still need to observe you for a while. If you perform well, I will officially accept you as my disciple. He just asked the system in his heart when the next disciple-taking task would be, but the system guy would never tell him, and only said to him, Stay tuned. So he can't accept Zhenbao as a disciple for the time being. Otherwise, if the system guy regrets it at that time, he will become a sucker. Lead the people first. Although he is a pig, he has Saint-grade talent, a rare good seedling. Although his achievements in the future may not be as good as Shi Hao and Xinqing, it should be no problem to enter the ancestral mausoleum Shangping. Zhenbao stood up, glanced at the treasure mountain next to him, pointed tentatively, and asked, Senior, these? Chu Tian said, Put it away. We are all family. How can I covet your property? Zhenbao was overjoyed. Spiritual sense covered the treasure mountain, quickly recovered, and was very happy. There is no more sorrow and joy in life than this. 174-9494, wait. I haven't agreed to let you take back the treasure yet. A voice suddenly sounded, and not far behind the four people, the laws of space were spreading, gradually converging into a vortex portal. 3 Taoist figures rushed out of the vortex, and the 3 people's breath was terrifying, and they were filled with holy power. As soon as they appeared, this holy power locked Chu Tian and the other 4, especially Zhenbao. This fat man's treasure made them excited. The one who just spoke was the man on the left side of the 3 people who was 3 meters tall. He had thick hair and a golden beard on his chin. There was a hideous scar on his left eye, and his exposed chest muscles were also covered with golden chest hair. Just standing there, you can feel his terrifying power. If it weren't for the influence of the divine power in the Bronze Palace, the space would be stable enough. He might be able to crush the space with his strength alone. Zhenbao heard him talking, although someone should have broken it so soon. But he didn't pay any attention to it at all, and took the treasure in by himself. Grotto Heaven, are you kidding? He has someone protecting him now. Who can hurt him? Soon, he took back all the treasures piled up like a mountain. The bearded man narrowed his eyes and shouted coldly, You don't know what's good for you. As soon as he finished speaking, he stretched out his hand to grab the treasure, and the runes on his 5 fingers flashed. Indistinctly, it seemed that an animal arm with golden animal hair appeared. Chu Tian had noticed them long before these 3 people appeared. At such a close distance, the violent space fluctuations could not escape his perception at all. Not only them, but at this moment, all over the Bronze Treasure Hall. Chapter 62, Part 2. In other side halls, there are several space channels opened, and strong people broke in, and these 3 people, coincidentally, the space channel just hit their area, and the 2 sides met unexpectedly. Facing the attack of the bearded man, Chu Tian was too disdainful to resist and exhaled lightly. Bang! The bearded man exploded instantly on the spot, and the 2 people were splashed with blood. The 2 were stunned, turned their heads to look at the place where the bearded man was originally standing. Their eyes widened. Oh my God, dead? You too. I killed your companion. Do you need me to avenge him? Chu Tian's words rang directly in the ears of the two, frightening them to death, their faces pale as paper. No, no, no. We are not familiar with him. I just happened to pass by. I'm leaving now. I'm leaving now. The two shook their heads and waved their hands like rattles, turned around and wanted to run. The two were panicking. They didn't expect to kick the iron plate as soon as they came in. They thought that with the cultivation of the three semi-saints' second transformation, not to mention rampant in the Imperial Mausoleum, at least they could do whatever they wanted. After all, there were not many Saint Venerable level masters who entered the Emperor's Mausoleum, so it was impossible to run into them easily. As a result, before they had time to catch their breath after entering the Emperor's Mausoleum, one of them died instantly. Bang! One of the two walked one step faster than the other. His body exploded instantly, and the Dao platform, Tianyan's soul, and infant transformation in his body were all wiped out. The remaining man stopped in his tracks, his face pale, and his teeth chattering with fear. He was now very sure that the man in front of him was not only Saint Venerable level, but probably not in the middle Saint Venerable level. Otherwise, with the semi-Saint Venerable level cultivation of the three of them, it would be impossible for them to be killed in a row from a distance. Senior, I am from the Nine-Headed Lion clan. Bang! Before he finished speaking, he exploded directly, and blood splattered everywhere. Even if you are from the Emperor clan, it won't work, Chu Tian said lightly. Then, Chu Tian used the Taoism to destroy the surrounding mysteries and eliminate cause and effect. Destroying evidence has almost become his instinct, and he does it subconsciously. These three people are from the Nine-Headed Lion clan, an ancient race, and they are semi-Saint Venerable level strongmen, so their status is probably not low. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, it is better to be cautious. Otherwise, in the end, if you beat the younger ones, you will attract the older ones. Although you can solve it with a wave of your hand, it is really annoying. Senior, my heirloom, seeing Chu Tian easily solve the three semi-saints, Zhenbao was more in awe of Chu Tian, but he still couldn't forget the bronze compass in his heart, hoping to get it back. It is not advisable to stay in the Imperial Mausoleum for a long time. Let's leave first. If it's too late, I'm afraid I can only hear the sound. Zhenbao didn't know that the entire Imperial Mausoleum was covered with countless mines, and they would die if they were touched. If someone triggered the biggest trap, the entire Imperial Mausoleum would explode, detonating the strongest killing move left by the ancient profound emperor. At that time, even they would be involved. Outside the Imperial Mausoleum, watching many forces rushing into the Imperial Mausoleum, the Grand Palace Master couldn't hold back. He looked at Dao Yinzi and asked, Grandmaster, when are we going in? If it's too late, we might not be able to grab any treasures. Dao Yinzi said, if we can't grab treasures, we can grab people. Grandmaster? The Grand Palace Master was stunned, and then he suddenly realized that this was the case. As expected of the Grandmaster, this operation is really brilliant. True Spirit, who was standing by, heard the conversation between the two and smiled proudly. As expected of the Grandmaster, he had a long-term vision and superb means. Our role model. When those people have grabbed almost everything, they will go in to pick up the leaks. This way, not only can they save time in treasure hunting, but they can also get more treasures. The spoils of robbing 100, or even 1,000 people must be much more than finding them by yourself. Dao Yinzi said, contact the others, and then we can work together to rob as much as we can. Prepare a few more storage bags. But remember, no traces can be left. Bring the invisible law treasure. You rob the others, and I'll rob the sacred land. The Grand Palace Master nodded quickly. Thinking of this, his long silent heart was actually excited. I'm looking forward to it. The True Spirit on the side was the same. I have lived for more than 1,000 years, but it seems that I have never done such an exciting thing. Huh. Dao Yinzi looked at a space near the Emperor's Mausoleum and wondered, why haven't the people from the ancient Star Sect entered yet? Other sacred lands have already entered. There, several powerful people from the ancient Star Sect stood, staring at the Emperor's Mausoleum, hesitating. Finally, he sighed, slowly retreated, and left the Emperor's Mausoleum. This move made the three people really confused. After waiting for several months, the Emperor's Mausoleum is right in front of us. Why don't we go in suddenly? In the starry sky of the Yanhuang realm, the battlefield between Chu Yuan and Xinglua Patriarch. The two stood there, their faces gloomy, suppressing their anger. One of them was the leader of the Xingqian ancient sect. The other was an old man, wearing a red robe, with white hair and beard, haggard face, and a faint aura of death. This person was the Fanqing Patriarch, one of the ancestors in the history of the Xingqian ancient sect. Because his lifespan was about to end, he had already entered the Emperor's source and slept for many years. 2 days ago, the spirit tablet left by the Xinglua Patriarch in the ancestral temple suddenly shattered. This means that the Xinglua Patriarch is dead. Just now, He killed the black-robed man in the starry sky in front of everyone, and his holy power shocked the Yinhuang world. But he died suddenly. In addition to being shocked, the Xingqian ancient sect quickly blocked the news and prevented the elders guarding the ancestral temple from spreading it. To be on the safe side, the elder was placed under house arrest to prevent accidents. The death of a sect saint venerable level ancestor, the Sun and Moon Patriarch, was very clear. This is a big event that can make a big fuss. If it is known, it will be ridiculed by Heavenly Jade Sacred Land and cause controversy. The Sun Moon sect leader decisively entered the ancestral land and invited the ancestor of Fan 953 city out. He is also the father of Xinglua Patriarch. Facing the death of Xinglua Patriarch, he seemed unusually calm. At his age, he has already looked down on everything. Compared to the death of his son, he cares more about the face of Xingqian ancient sect. The Sun and Moon Saint Emperor is their belief. Who dared to kill the Saint Venerable level ancestor of the Star Ancient Sect? Is he tired of living? Killing important figures of the Star Ancient Sect one after another? Is this a demonstration to them? Chapter 62, Part 3. Ancestor Fanqing glanced at the Sun and Moon Sect leader and asked, "Are you sure that the man in black robe was killed by Xinglua?" The Sun and Moon Sect leader nodded firmly and said, "Of course, many people know about this. Other fighting methods of the Saint Venerable level are extremely rare in this Dharma ending period. I don't know how many forces there are. Special law weapons are used to observe the battle in the starry sky." Ancestor Fanqing was silent. He had tried to calculate many times, but to no avail. This starry sky has been cleaned up by someone with a heart, leaving no trace. Even the mysterious clues have not been tainted by the cause and effect of the Xinglua ancestor. Whose skill is so clever? I can't even find any useful information. Even the use of divine weapon can't find any evidence. The sun, moon, and star seal hovered around the two of them, emitting a faint light and a strong imperial law. After Xing Luo died, did the man in black appear again? The old ancestor of Fanqing asked. The Sun and Moon sect leader nodded and said, "We haven't found his whereabouts in the past few days. Does the ancestor suspect that he is still alive?" The Fanqing ancestor narrowed his eyes and said, "There are two possibilities now. One is that this person has hidden his strength. He broke out at the last moment and died together with Xinglua. The second possibility is that this person has accomplices, and Xinglua was defeated by the two and eventually fell." The Sun and Moon sect leader frowned. Doesn't that mean that what the entire Beidou saw that day was an illusion? He heard such a meaning from the words of the Fanqing ancestor. But if what everyone saw that day was an illusion, it would be really terrible. What kind of person, what kind of cultivation, can set up a trap for the entire Yinhuang world? Cheat everyone? The Fanqing ancestor nodded and said, "The first situation is not very reasonable. If they died together, who handled the battle scene? And it was handled so thoroughly that even divine weapon cannot be calculated. So, the second possibility is the most likely. Xing Luo died in the siege, and the other party deceived everyone with illusions." After the voice fell, the old ancestor of Fanqing sighed and said, "If it is the second situation, then the one who is targeting us may be an organization. To be able to arrange an illusion that deceives the whole world, at least several top strong men must work together." The leader of the Sun and Moon frowned and pondered and said, "Ancestor, is it possible that the one who arranged the illusion is a district? A person with unfathomable strength? And the traces of battle here were also cleaned up by this person?" The old ancestor of Fanqing looked at the leader of the Sun and Moon. "This guess is bold. If a person can achieve this level, how high should his realm be?" Chapter 63, Part 1. At least it must reach the Saint King level, and it must be assisted by a powerful law weapon. The Yinhuang realm is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, and there are many powerful people. It is very unlikely to hide from all the powerful people. The Sun and Moon sect leader said, "No matter which one it is, it proves that the opponent's strength must be very strong, and the law weapon is also very powerful. Then, ancestor, what should we do? Swallow this breath?" Hearing this, the Fanqing ancestor widened his eyes, and the holy power around him was so great that he suddenly knocked the Sun and Moon sect leader out. He roared, "The Xingqian ancient sect never bows its head. As the contemporary leader, you control the entire sacred land, and you actually say such words. You have lost the face of the Sun and Moon Saint Emperor." The good impression of the Fanqing ancestor towards the Sun and Moon sect leader disappeared instantly. Although the Sun and Moon sect leader is a semi-saint venerable level other strong men, but was hit by the holy power of the old ancestor of the city. He flew tens of thousands of miles away in an instant, spitting blood wildly, and smashed a star to stabilize his body. He covered his chest and struggled to stand up, his face pale. He knew that he was wrong. Flying back to the old ancestor of Fanqing, the leader of the Sun and Moon sect stopped talking. The old ancestor of Fanqing snorted coldly and said, You should know the rules of the ancient Xingqian sect better than anyone else. My sect will never bow, and no one can make us bow. This matter is not over. Gather everyone, check for me, and find the trace of the man in black robe. Since he has repeatedly provoked our sect, he must have a grudge against our sect. Once he has the chance, he will definitely appear again. All those who know about this matter, spiritual sense is engraved into the ban. Anyone who dares to disclose it will only die. The leader of the Sun and Moon sect nodded silently. Finally, the two returned to the Yinhuang realm. They began to summon the strong men of the Star Ancient sect outside to prepare for a carpet search for the traces of the black-robed man. Just after they left, tens of thousands of miles away, on a dim star, a masked black-robed man appeared. He was covered with concealing spells, isolating all breath. It would be strange if you could find me. Now, even the cultivators of the Xuanfu realm are qualified to enter the Imperial Mausoleum. The divine power almost disappeared, and above the sky, 33rd layer sky also became blurred. Such a low threshold gave hope to countless low-level cultivators around the Imperial Mausoleum. Their eyes lit up and their breathing was rapid. Cultivators are originally competing with people and heaven. If they can find a few handy treasures and apex-level techniques in the Imperial Mausoleum, then in the future, they will definitely soar into the sky and hope to become top powerhouses. Otherwise, at most they will die. At worst, they can start over in the next life. This idea is not only echoing in one person's mind, but all cultivators below the Tianyin realm have such an idea. Since they embarked on the road of cultivating immortals, they don't know how many life and death battles they have experienced because of the competition for opportunities. They have brushed shoulders with the god of death countless times. The reason why they fight so hard is to fight for a bright future. They are not cultivators of big forces, with countless resources to supply, and everything depends on them to fight for it. Finally, a cultivator of the Xuanfu realm took a step and turned into a long rainbow. Flying quickly towards the Imperial Mausoleum, he looked serious, holding law weapon. This time, he may not return, but he has no regrets. The journey of a cultivator is to struggle in the mortal world, and a bright future requires one to fight for it. Someone took the lead, and suddenly, more and more people took action. Using their body skills, they turned into streams of light and rushed to the Imperial Mausoleum. Whoosh! In the crowd, someone secretly killed people, wanting to eliminate these competitors in advance. It was a bald man with a hideous face and a surging breath of changing realms. He swung his knife and cut off the head of a Xuanfu realm cultivator. Hee hee haha, I want to be the first to go in. He laughed wildly and recklessly. While sprinting, he slaughtered the low-level monks along the way. Others dared not speak, they saw. The long sword in this man's hand was a law weapon of the Tianyin realm, which was extremely powerful. The ordinary strong men of the infant transformation realm were no match for him at all. Puff! Suddenly, a black shadow flashed, and the bald man's chest was bright. The power of the infant transformation in his body was destroyed, and he died tragically in an instant. It was a black-clothed boy, with a frosty indifference on his tender face. He did not stop after killing the bald man, and rushed directly to the Imperial Mausoleum. It's Black Rakshasa, a transcendent level genius who has cultivated to the infant transformation realm at the age of 100. He is the pride of our independent cultivator. Someone shouted in surprise, recognizing the identity of the black-clothed boy. Someone took the opportunity to follow Black Rakshasa closely, and he led the way. So he took this opportunity to go straight to the Imperial Mausoleum. This guy is really smart. The Imperial Mausoleum is in chaos and murderous, and there are more than hundreds of people who secretly attack. If you have a fluke here, you will only die faster. Only by being ruthless can you have the last laugh. In the back, the Grand Palace Master held his forehead with his hand, looked at the spectacular scene, and said, "They are just children, and have not yet understood the true meaning of survival. At the age of flowers, you should put your life first, and everything else is a matter of later. The Sacred Land and other major forces have entered, and you are also following them. Isn't this nonsense?" True Spirit laughed. "Among the saints and demons, not everyone is like us. More are these brave men who dare to charge into battle. Although their lifespans are often short, they are worthy of admiration." Dao Yinzi, dressed in green, looked far ahead. His expression was indifferent, but suddenly, he turned his eyes to one place, frowning. Boom! Somewhere on the left side of the Imperial Mausoleum, a huge explosion suddenly occurred, and the strong law energy exploded and rushed into the sky. Just the dust that rushed into the sky killed thousands of monks who were rushing to the Imperial Mausoleum. Countless limbs and arms fell down like dumplings. Blood was like a torrential rain, washing down and dyeing the earth red. The turmoil here has not yet subsided, and a dazzling light suddenly bloomed not far away. A huge sky sword pierced into the Imperial Mausoleum from the sky. The powerful and terrifying aura caused the death of tens of thousands of nearby monks. A big hole was dug out of the huge imperial mausoleum. Damn it! You humans are so mean. Even the venerable level is like this. It's so disgusting. Wherever I go, it explodes. How can I be so unlucky? Inside the imperial mausoleum, there was a roar. The sound was like thunder. Chapter 63, Part 2. It resounded through the 9 heavens, and the vast holy power suddenly burst out, filling the 4 directions of the world. This is a sacred venerable roaring, venting the anger in his heart. He is a powerful sacred venerable level. Since entering the imperial mausoleum, he has been frustrated again and again, and everything he touches explodes. At first, it was just some ordinary Taoist attacks that posed no threat to him. In the end, the restrictions he encountered became more and more terrifying, and even his cultivation could not resist it. He was bleeding, severely injured, and cursed. His vitality is constantly draining away, and his blood is constantly evaporating. If this continues, even if he is a sacred venerable level, he will not be able to escape death. He cursed the ancient profound emperor and the human race. He had always looked down on the human race and had no good impression of them. Now, his impression is even worse. This ancient profound emperor mausoleum has been used by someone to hide countless restrictions with extremely sophisticated means. This is obviously set by the ancient profound emperor. A powerful emperor venerable level person is so insidious. What a mean person. We can understand that you set up a test. But isn't it too much for you to set up the array indiscriminately? How lucky do you have to be to avoid triggering the restrictions? This sacred venerable rushed out of the emperor mausoleum with an ugly face and blood all over his body. Although the majestic holy power is frightening, it seems a little empty at the moment. He needs to find a place to heal his wounds and must expel the curse in his body as soon as possible, otherwise he will die. That is the method left by Emperor Venerable, and it must be dealt with in time. This scene is not just happening here. As more and more people pour into the Imperial Mausoleum, the ban is triggered more frequently. From time to time, explosions and angry curses can be heard in the Imperial Mausoleum, all greeting the ancient, profound Emperor. Even the human race himself, his face is as black as the bottom of a pot, and he is so depressed that he almost vomits blood. That is the human race's own Emperor Venerable, who once protected all spirits. Can't curse, but it's really aggrieved. On the periphery, Dao Yinzi looked in the direction where the ancient race Sacred Venerable disappeared, and the corners of his mouth gradually rose. The opportunity has come, he said. An accident has occurred in the Imperial Mausoleum, and many people may flee the Imperial Mausoleum next. Notify others to be prepared. Remember, safety first. Afterwards, remember to record the location of the incident. I will go there in person to destroy those mysterious lines just in case. The Grand Palace Master and the 2 old men, True Spirit, were ready to fight. The old man's heart was shaking with excitement. It was finally their turn to play. Not long after Dao Yinzi and the other 2 left, Chu Tian and the other 4 appeared in the same place. Chu Tian looked around and didn't see the Grand Palace Master and the others. He whispered, "Have they gone in?" He tried to figure out what happened here, but found that the mysterious line here was so clean that it seemed as if no one had ever been here. This ancestor is not simple. Dao Yinzi's talent in the way of mystery reached the upper saint grade, which was extremely terrifying. His attainments far exceeded his cultivation. Even he could not deduce all the things that happened here without the help of any law weapon. After he used his great magic power, a sentence finally came from the mystery. If you can't grab the treasure, you can grab people. Chu Tian shook his head helplessly. He was originally worried that Dao Yinzi and his men would be in danger of their lives if they mistakenly entered the Imperial Mausoleum. Unexpectedly, they had no intention of entering at all. They were going to intercept those who returned from the Imperial Mausoleum with a full load. As expected of an old ancestor of my sect, you are experienced and will not easily enter a dangerous place. Safety first. In a forest, the sacred venerable of the ancient race was healing. His face was dark red, and deep purple lines appeared on his heart. Damn human race. Damn human race, Emperor Venerable. A person has so many minds, it's disgusting. Sacred Venerable closed his eyes to heal his wounds, his eyelids trembling slightly, cursing in his mouth, and he was so angry that he couldn't speak clearly. He never thought that he would fall into a dead man's mausoleum after being smart all his life and suffer a lot. It was really explosions wherever he went, sparks and lightning all the way, and he didn't get much things, but he was injured first. He should be the most unlucky Sacred Venerable who entered the Imperial Mausoleum this time. Venerable, when the injury is healed, I will make those human race pay the price. If you can't get it in the Imperial Mausoleum, then go outside. Outside, you won't be so unlucky. Jinwan's Sacred Venerable finally calmed down and began to concentrate on healing. Fortunately, He brought a lot of healing treasure pills when he left the Jinwan tribe, which stabilized his injuries. A day later, Jinwan's Sacred Venerable finally stood up. Although his injuries were not fully recovered, he was no longer in danger. 174-9474. It's my turn to take action. Even if it's the sacred land of the extreme Tao, I won't let it go. I want them all. Jinwan's Sacred Venerable sneered. He was going to rob the treasures of the human race, especially those human races who came out of the Imperial Mausoleum. He wanted to vent all the resentment he had just suffered. You are just a Sacred Venerable first layer. You don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. When will it be your turn to bully us human races? At some point, an old man appeared in the air and looked down at Jinwan's Sacred Venerable. Venerable spoke coldly. The old man had an immortal look, a beard that reached his knees, a ruddy complexion, and a spirited look. His eyes were like two bright stars, extraordinarily bright. Sacred Venerable Jinwan narrowed his eyes slightly. His tall body exuded a sense of oppression. He stared at the old man with an unhappy look. He was so focused on healing his wounds just now that he didn't notice the man quietly coming. Which Sacred Venerable of my human race are you? The old man in the air said lightly. Xingqian Ancient Sect, Xinglua Sacred Venerable. Sacred Venerable Jinwan's expression froze. The Jinwan tribe was also located somewhere in Sangzhou. Being adjacent to Xingqian Ancient Sect, he naturally heard of the name of Xinglua. Not long ago, this man also killed a black-robed man who was about to enter the Saint Venerable realm in the starry sky. He had also paid attention to that battle. An old man in his twilight years dares to teach me a lesson? Sacred Venerable Jinwan sneered. Even the semi-saint level was so laborious. How could this man compete with him? He simply disdained the Xinglua Ancestor. The Xinglua Patriarch looked down at the Sacred Venerable and asked, "Do you underestimate my Sacred Ancient Church?" What Sacred Ancient Church? It only produced an Emperor Venerable level. Without divine weapons, you are not as good as my Sacred Luan clan. Chapter 63, Part 3. The Sacred Luan clan has only produced one Supreme, who once dominated the universe, but there is a big gap compared to the Emperor Venerable level. After the death of the Sacred Luan Supreme, he left behind a Supreme Law Treasure. That is the Sacred Luan clan's strongest law treasure, and it is their racial foundation. Although the Sacred Luan clan does not have divine weapons, they are not afraid of the Sacred Ancient Church. Unless the Emperor Venerable masters the divine weapons, the Sacred Ancient Church will not be able to do anything to the Sacred Luan clan with supreme soldiers, even if it takes out the divine weapons. The two confronted each other in the air, full of gunpowder. Use your blood to eliminate the hatred in my heart. All human races should die. The Sacred Venerable of the Golden Luan roared, turned into a golden light, and rushed towards the Xinglua Patriarch. The human race and the ancient races have been enemies since ancient times, and countless wars have broken out. Later, with the mediation of Emperor Venerable and the Ancient Emperor, the relationship was slightly eased. However, once something big happened, the two sides, they were good, immediately confronted each other and fought. Seeing the Sacred Venerable of the Golden Luan taking the initiative, the Xingyao Patriarch smiled. I am already a Sacred Venerable second layer heaven. How can you be my opponent? You are a dying person with weak blood and chi, and you are also a Sacred Venerable second layer heaven? The Sacred Venerable of the Golden Luan sneered, and his 5 fingers turned into golden claws. With a sudden wave, the sky split open. The terrifying holy power enveloped the Xinglua Patriarch to prevent him from escaping. That's not necessarily true. After saying this, Xinglua Patriarch waved his hand gently, and then he dispelled the attack of Jinwan's Sacred Venerable. Then he rushed towards Jinwan's Sacred Venerable, using the most basic boxing sacred method to fight with him in close combat. Hee, you are so stupid. Physical fitness has been the strong point of the ancient race since ancient times. Don't you know that? Jinwan's Sacred Venerable sneered and cursed Xinglua Patriarch for being stupid. He was fearless and fought hard, and used the sacred physical method. Bang! Suddenly, Jinwan's Sacred Venerable was slapped hard and was stunned. Before he could come to his senses, he was kicked in the buttocks again. This kick was so powerful that it directly broke all the holy bones in Jinwan's Sacred Venerable's lower body. The bone fragments mixed with thick blood fell to the ground. Then, Xinglua Patriarch punched Jinwan's Sacred Venerable's chest and ribs. The holy blood splashed, and the space was evaporated by the divinity in the blood. I don't believe it. Sacred Venerable Jinwan yelled. He was actually defeated by this old man in physical skills. The opponent was about to be buried in the ground. His chi and blood were exhausted. How could his physique still be so strong? Xingqian Ancient Sect, is it your guess? Sun and Moon Saint Emperor, unparalleled in the world. Xinglua Patriarch shouted and used the signature divine ability of Xingqian Ancient Sect to directly knock Sacred Venerable Jinwan unconscious and fell to the ground. Sacred Venerable Jinwan, who was lying on the ground, looked confused. He actually lost in physical skills. I didn't expect that you Xingqian ancient sect are so good at acting. You acted really well in the scene in the starry sky a few days ago. Sacred Venerable Jin Wan mocked. A few days ago, facing the black-robed man of semi-saint third transformation, the old Xinglua patriarch went through a lot of trouble. Today, facing himself as Sacred Venerable, he solved it in a few moves. This is too well hidden. Chapter 64, Part 1. Stop talking nonsense, hand over all the treasures on you. I will spare your life because you are from the Jinwan clan. Jinwan's Sacred Venerable shouted, You are talking nonsense. Xinglua patriarch said no more and kicked his head to pieces. Using the sacred method, he took away the Dao platform, Tianyin soul, and infant transformation in his body. Then, Xinglua patriarch took action directly. Spiritual sense broke into the grotto heaven of Jinwan's Sacred Venerable, swept away all the treasures, and left. In the original place, Jinwan's Sacred Venerable recondensed sacred body. His face was ashen, and he was shaking with anger. Why am I so unlucky today? I am so angry. Xingqian ancient sect, let's wait and see. Sure enough, it feels so good to just do it. No wonder those old guys are sneaky and practice their fists and feet to perfection. The Xinglua patriarch in the distance changed his figure and turned into a young man in blue. He happily recalled the feeling of beating Jinwan's Sacred Venerable just now. Then, Jinning's Sacred Venerable left the forest. He turned back and fiddled with the mysterious line and causal line between heaven and earth with his fingers. He did not completely erase the connection with Jinwan's Sacred Venerable. Venerable battle scene, deliberately leaving a faint shadow. This is the effect he wants. After completion, the blue-clothed boy left this place and disappeared into the void. Then, a white-clothed figure appeared, and he was seen pointing at one eye. He used special Taoist methods to strengthen this world, making the shadow left by the blue-clothed boy more realistic. In this way, it is difficult to distinguish between true and false. I only heard the white-clothed figure say to the three people behind him, Look carefully, learn well. The Go Dao is profound. How much you can understand depends on you. Shihao's eyes lit up, and as calm as he was also a little excited. Doing this was too exciting. He said, As expected of the ancestor, he speaks well and does things shrewdly. He is a model of our generation. I am familiar with this. Xinqing's mouth curled up. This scene was very familiar. Ancient Profound Emperor did this a lot before he attained enlightenment. He would rob hostile sects and schools if he could. If there was nothing good, he would kidnap people and ask those sects to redeem them with spirit stone treasures. Countless cultivation resources were earned by this skill. I have to admit that this skill is efficient and fast. As long as you are careful, no one can do anything to you. Is this the Holy Demon Mountain? This is just what I want. Jinbao's green bean-sized eyes sparkled, as if he had discovered a new world. He felt that he had met the Holy Demon Mountain too late. Chu Tian smiled slightly. Let's go. I will lead you to open your eyes. When you go back, you must seriously study the essence of it. Try to pass on this skill. It will be of great benefit. The Imperial Mausoleum is mysterious and filled with countless restrictions. If anyone breaks in without choosing a good day, it will be a life-or-death situation. Haha, I'm out, finally out. Finally, someone escaped. It was a young man in a yellow robe, his face full of excitement, his eyes flashing with excitement, and he was very happy. Despite the difficulties in the Imperial Mausoleum, he was lucky enough to find several precious treasures. The yellow-robed youth quickly hid his whereabouts and left as quickly as possible. Now that he had obtained the treasure, he should not stay here for long. If he ran into someone who coveted his treasure, he would be in big trouble. Not far away, suddenly, a short old man blocked his way. The old man was not tall, floating in the air, looking at him with a smile, and said, Young man, can you lend me something? The yellow-robed youth's face froze, secretly cursing his own crow mouth. What he thought came true. Above the sky, there was a purple-robed old man who had reached the 8th layer of the Dao realm. His face was excited, and his eyes were filled with joy that could not be concealed. Just now, he found a great Saint Venerable level other skills in the Imperial Mausoleum, which was mysterious and profound. With this technique, he may be able to enter the semi-Saint Venerable level in the future. Hello. Suddenly, an old man in a gray robe appeared in front of him, blocking his way and politely greeting him. The old man in a purple robe frowned slightly, feeling bad. However, when he saw that the other party's cultivation was only at the 1st layer of the Dao realm, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. What can I do for you? The old man in a gray robe smiled and said, I want to borrow something from you. Borrow something? The old man in a purple robe frowned and looked unhappy. Do you know me well? Please lend me the treasure you got from the Imperial Mausoleum. The old man in a gray robe put his hands behind his back and talked to himself. When the purple-robed old man heard this, his eyes widened and he said coldly, Are you blind? I am the 8th layer of the Dao realm. Can you covet it? As he said this, he immediately pinched his fingers and exhaled a breath, which turned into a purple torrent with a diameter of 10,000 meters, lying directly on the gray-robed old man. For such people who don't know their place, he has never said much and just took action directly. Don't be impatient. Let me show you my skills. The gray-robed old man coughed lightly, and his original cultivation of the 1st layer of the Dao realm instantly became the 2nd layer of the Dao realm. Then, under the wolf-like eyes of the purple-robed old man, the gray-robed old man's cultivation increased sharply to the perfection of the Dao realm. He waved his hand, and the purple torrent emitted by the old man disappeared without a trace. The gray-robed old man smiled at the purple-robed old man. Can I borrow it now? The purple-robed old man looked grim. Where did this person come from? He is a perfect person in the Dao realm, but he actually pretends to be a 1st layer in the Dao realm. Is there something wrong with his mentality? Even if the senior is a perfect person in the Dao realm, before he finished speaking, the gray-robed old man uttered a cry and accidentally revealed a little of his other cultivation level. The purple-robed old man was so scared that he lost his voice. He stared at the gray-robed old man blankly. Can you tell me who you are, senior? Do you think I will tell you that I am from the ancient star sect? The purple-robed old man. 3 days later, a piece of news exploded around the Imperial Mausoleum, causing a huge sensation. What? The ancient star sect is the mastermind behind the hundreds of robberies that have occurred recently? Yes, the victims gathered together to discuss and came to this amazing conclusion. How is it possible? Didn't the ancient star sect not enter? They should have gotten a lot of good things, right? You don't know. An old senior said that he saw with his own eyes that the strong men of the ancient star sect did not enter the Imperial Mausoleum. Instead, they left early and disappeared. It seems that they ambushed in advance. Hiss. So scary? Not only that, I heard that the sacred venerable of Jinluan was also robbed and its body was dismantled. Sacred venerable was robbed? Who is so bold? Chapter 64, Part 2. I heard that it was the Xinglua Patriarch who showed his power in the starry sky a few days ago. Oh my God, shocking news. Countless cultivators whispered to each other and talked about it. This wave of news was really shocking. No one expected that the mantis stalked the cicada and the oriole was behind, and the Xingqian ancient sect became the biggest winner. They didn't even need to enter the Imperial Mausoleum to obtain a large number of treasures, compared to those few extreme sacred lands who rushed into the Imperial Mausoleum but got nothing. Their methods were really clever. It's just a little unethical. Huh? The strong men of the Xingqian ancient sect are here. Someone noticed that the 4 strong men flying in the sky were the members of the Xingqian ancient sect who had left before. The 4 people from the Xingqian ancient sect did not notice anything unusual around them. They were ordered to look for the traces of the man in black robe. There were many cultivators around the Imperial Mausoleum. They wanted to see if the strong man was hiding there. Suddenly, the middle-aged man with a horse face, who was the leader of the 4, looked gloomy. He found that hundreds of people were rushing towards this side. What do you want to do? Before he finished speaking, a big hand like a palm leaf fan made intimate contact with his cheek. He was beaten so hard that he turned hundreds of times in the air. Before he could stand firm, he was covered by a special law weapon, and then he was beaten. People kept attacking him secretly, with cruel means and personal grudges. This seat is the elder of the Star Ancient Sect. You can't do anything reckless. The horse-faced middle-aged man screamed, and brought out the identity of the Star Ancient Sect to try to intimidate some people. But it would have been better if he didn't say it. Once he said it, these people became even more angry. I'm going to hit you, the Star Ancient Sect. You dare to steal my skills, watch out. An old man in a purple robe blew his beard and glared, holding a wooden stick law weapon. Bang bang bang, hitting Ma Xianzhong's head hard. The other 3 strong men of the Star Ancient Sect were not much better. Before they could figure out the situation, they were knocked down by a club, and then they were put in a sack and beaten. Damn it, who can tell me what's going on? The 4 horse-faced middle-aged men cried out in grief. Who could bear being beaten for no reason? Shut your stinky mouth. The old man holding a wooden stick hit him twice more and knocked him unconscious. When he woke up, there was no one around except the other 3 who were still unconscious. As for who did it, he didn't know. He was hit by a club and put in a sack, so he couldn't see who did it. The horse-faced middle-aged man had a bruised face and aches all over his body. He bribed a cultivator in the Xuanfu realm with money and learned the reason from him. The horse-faced middle-aged man was stunned. Xinglua Patriarch is still alive? Then why is his spirit tablet broken? This time they returned to the Imperial Mausoleum specifically because of the order of the Sun and Moon sect leader to search for the traces of the black-robed man. The 4 people asked around and found out that in the recent few celebrations, there was a powerful person called Xingqian Ancient Sect who did some unkind things one after another. This matter involves a wide range of people. No matter what stage of cultivation they have reached, they are all targeted. Even for the Saint Venerable level, there is a person called Xinglua Patriarch who specifically blocks them. It is said that not only the Jinwan Sacred Venerable, but also an old Sacred Venerable of the Eastern Ancient Clan, was also caught. This made the old Sacred Venerable of the Eastern Ancient Clan very angry. He is still looking for masters of the Star Ancient Sect everywhere, intending to teach these bastards a lesson in person. Others dare not speak out when facing the extreme Sacred Land, but he is not afraid. They, the Eastern Ancient Clan, have been passed down for millions of years and have a deep family background. They are not afraid of the extreme Sacred Land. Moreover, this time the Star Ancient Sect is in the wrong. For the sake of face, even if he really takes action, the other party may not be able to do anything. I heard that people from the Star Ancient Sect are coming. In the sky, the green holy power covered the sky and the sun, rumbling over. The holy power enveloped the world, and with anger, a roar came. The old Sacred Venerable of the Eastern Ancient Clan has appeared. When they heard the noise, the 4 people of the Ancient Star Clan ran away without saying a word. They still don't understand the situation now, and they don't want to lose their lives for nothing. Hurry up, contact the leader and report this. We need to find out whether our sect did it. The 4 middle-aged men with horse faces are not stupid. They are all elders in the sect, and have reached the late stage of the heavenly evolution realm. But they didn't know about such a big thing. Could it be that the sect secretly sent someone more powerful to do it? According to their understanding of their own sect, it is not strange to do such a thing. But they always feel that something is wrong. Where do you want to run to? The old Sacred Venerable of the Eastern Ancient Clan performed heavenly law shaping earth and turned into a giant of 1,000 feet. The holy power filled the sky and earth. Above the sky, the light of Tao fell and the rumbling sound of heaven echoed. Senior, listen to my explanation. I won't listen. Chu Tian stood on the top of the mountain, looking at the mountains from afar, feeling like he was looking down on all the mountains. Behind him, Hao, Xinqing, and Jinbao were sitting cross-legged, comprehending something. These past few days, Chu Tian led them to follow the ancestors quietly, and the 3 of them learned a lot. They had a new understanding of Go Dao. The Tao that can be spoken is not the real Tao. There are thousands of great Tao, countless and inexhaustible. Our sect follows the ambition of heavenly origin Saint Master and practices the Tao of Go. Based on oneself, living is the only truth. What is the Tao of Go? True and false, false and true and false, half and half. It makes people confused. The Tao of Go. Action is like thunder, convergence in the invisible. You must remember that the Tao of Go is not cowardly. If someone provokes you, you can still beat him. But remember, a gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall, especially in this immortal cultivation world. Safety always comes first. Chu Tian's words, like the sound of the great Tao, made the 3 people intoxicated and ecstatic. But this is only part of the teachings passed down by the heavenly origin Saint Master. For this ancestor who has never met, Chu Tian is full of respect. It's a pity that the ancestor has been sitting for thousands of years, and there is no way to ask him for advice. Hao and Xinqing are already practicing void refining, which is a must-learn method for joining the Holy Demon Mountain. The 2 have already achieved basic accomplishment in void refining, and their actual experience is hidden a lot. But it is still far from Chu Tian's requirements. Chapter 64, Part 3. As for Jinbao, the task of recruiting disciples has not yet come, so he cannot practice void refining for the time being. As the master of the sect, the rules of the sect are naturally his rules. He can teach him first, but the core methods of the sect must be confirmed before the identity of the formal disciple can be passed on. At this moment, Chu Tian suddenly remembered that it seems to be a new month now, and it is time to sign in. After having more treasures, signing in has become less active, which is a sin. System, start signing in. Ding, signing in successfully, cumulative signing in time. 101 years. Chu Tian raised his eyebrows. I hope to exchange the system's 10-year life for some good things. In recent months, except for the space-time God realm, the things he signed in were not very good. System sign-in, the easiest way to get good stuff all year. If you want to come and get some Apex level treasures. Ding, sign-in successful, reward, Dan Emperor Supreme Ding, Dan Emperor Supreme Ding? The legendary Dan Emperor? Chu Tian had read the Chronicles of the Universe at the Sutra Pavilion in the Holy Demon Mountain, and had studied those top figures. He was quite interested in this kind of historical documents before the transmigration. And this Dan Emperor Supreme Ding left a brilliant mark in a certain era in ancient times. However, there are many different opinions about the deeds of the Dan Emperor, and there are mainly 2 different views. Some people say that the Dan Emperor is talented and overwhelms his peers. In the end, he proved his Dao with Dan and became the first Dan Dao Emperor in history. Surpassing his peers, he is a rare epic-making figure in ancient times. But he encountered great terror during the transcending tribulation, and the Transcending Tribulation failed in the end. He did not perish in the Emperor Tribulation and became a supreme-level strongman. Failed to pass the Emperor Tribulation, the Dan Emperor will never have the opportunity to peek into the Emperor realm in this life, and will be stuck in the Supreme realm for the rest of his life. Although he is the Supreme, he will not become the Emperor Venerable, which is a lifelong regret. However, Chu Tian also found a secret legend by consulting the information. It is said that the Dan Emperor refined an Emperor pill in his later years, and after taking it, he re-entered the Emperor realm and attracted the Emperor Tribulation again. Failed transcending tribulation and died in the Emperor Tribulation. The reason why this legend is secret is that no one believes it. The way of heaven is fair to everyone, and everyone has only one chance to pass the Emperor Tribulation. There are only 3 results. Succeed in transcending tribulation and become Emperor Venerable. Failed transcending tribulation but survived and became supreme. Failed transcending tribulation and died and disappeared. Since ancient times, no one has ever attracted the second Emperor Tribulation. With so many prodigy, how could he be the most special Dan Emperor? Therefore, although this secret was widely circulated, no one believed it, and it was finally forgotten. Chu Tian was also skeptical about this secret. However, he also felt that this secret was somewhat credible. The Dan Emperor entered the Dao with Dan, and almost became the first Dan Dao Emperor. It is entirely possible that he spent his entire life refining the Emperor Dan. With the Emperor Dan, the Dan Emperor once again entered the Emperor realm, and brought about the Emperor Tribulation for the second time. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 65, Part 1. Ding. The host guessed correctly. The Dan Emperor did attract the second Heavenly Tribulation, but he died under the Heavenly Tribulation. At that time, he was too old, and even if he tried his best, his combat power was not enough. Chu Tian showed an admiring look and said, although he did not survive the Emperor's tribulation, the deeds of the Dan Emperor are no less than any Emperor Venerable. If it weren't for the first time he was plotted against by a villain, the Dan Emperor would definitely become an Emperor Venerable. Chu Tian was about to ask, but the system said, one day, when you are shining, you will know, and you will know more. Ding. The Dan Emperor Supreme Ding is being issued. According to the host's request, you can choose to store it in the system space or take it back to Grotto Heaven by the host. Chu Tian was speechless and thought to himself, if I release Grotto Heaven, you will definitely make a big fuss again. The system still understands me. I can only use it once a month. I am so depressed. Ding. Danhuang's Supreme Ding has been safely stored in the system space. It can be retrieved at any time when needed. Ding. The system reminds you. Danhuang's second Transcending Tribulation was not successful. But during the Emperor Tribulation, he borrowed the power of the Emperor Tribulation and used the last bit of mana to refine his life law weapon. In the end, Danhuang's Supreme Ding was promoted to an Emperor weapon. This is also the only Supreme who is not Emperor Venerable but possesses divine weapon in history. After hearing what the system said, Chu Tian couldn't help but admire the Dan Emperor. His own law weapon was promoted to divine weapon, which was half of his wish. So, the reward for signing in this time is another ancient divine weapon? Laugh out loud if you are happy, don't hold it back. Do I look like the kind of person who shows his joy? Chu Tian said this, but his mouth corners unconsciously rose, revealing a wicked smile. Another ancient divine weapon, plus the Demon Ancestor's god-killing spear. He has 2 of them. This is something that even Emperor Venerable can't do. A few days later, there was a constant roar around the Imperial Mausoleum, and more people triggered the ban. It triggered the ancient profound the various traps set up by the Emperor. Some died tragically on the spot, while those who survived continued to search for treasures while cursing. Among these restrictions, the most terrifying ones are those special spells, new magic, blood corruption, and the like. Generally, encountering them means death. Those that explode are just ordinary restrictions. Although they make a lot of noise, they are not scary. The truly scary ones are those that are silent. You may not notice the abnormality at first, but by the time you find it, you may have seen the ghost of your dead companion waving at you. However, the dense restrictions of the Emperor's Mausoleum cannot stop the enthusiasm of some treasure-hunting maniacs. They bet their lives on the Emperor's Mausoleum just to fight for a bright future. As long as they don't die, they will bite the bullet and continue. Some succeed and leave with a big laugh. Some fail and die forever in the Emperor's Mausoleum and turn into dry bones. Hee. I won't accompany you anymore. Everyone, see you later. The strong men of Wanku Mountain laughed heartily. Although they lost several people on this trip semi-saint, but the harvest is not small, separated from the world-shaking treasure. They plan to withdraw and no longer participate. After all, the Imperial Mausoleum has countless restrictions. No one knows whether a restriction will cause the entire Imperial Mausoleum to explode. By then, I am afraid that Sacred Venerable will also die unjustly. The people of Wanku Mountain left. 2 days later, they came back again. They left with high spirits, but returned in a mess, with eyes full of resentment and faces as ugly as if they had eaten a fly. Where are the people of Xingqian Ancient Sect? Get out of here. Ah. The old Sacred Venerable, the leader of Wanku Mountain, was almost crazy with anger. The terrible holy power enveloped the sky, and the surrounding cultivators were oppressed by the holy power and couldn't breathe, their faces flushed red. Bang! A cultivator in the Xuanfu realm couldn't bear it and exploded directly. This is just the beginning. The Sacred Venerable of Wanku Mountain Venerable and several other strong men unleashed the holy power without reservation. It filled the world, and more people died tragically under the holy power. Even the Tianyan realm was as fragile as an ant in front of this holy power. The power of heaven and earth that they were so proud of was now ineffective, and the world was firmly controlled by the strong men of Wanku Mountain. The terrifying spiritual sense swept through everyone, trying to find the villains of the ancient star sect. Hee, old man Xiaku, if you can't do it, don't blame the uneven road. Being robbed only means that you are not strong enough. I, Tianshu Sacred Land, will not accompany you anymore. Everyone, goodbye. I advise you that there must be a big mechanism deep in the Emperor's mausoleum. The main tomb cannot be visited. Remember. After mocking Wanku Mountain, the strong men of Tianshu's Sacred Land left a message to warn those who want to find the main tomb. According to their observations, judging from the prohibitions everywhere in the ancient profound Emperor's mausoleum, the main tomb is definitely a big trouble. Judging from the current situation of the Emperor's mausoleum, the ancient profound Emperor is not a good person. Not long after, Tianshu's Sacred Land came back again. Several people's faces were as black as the bottom of a pot, and the face of Sacred Venerable of Tianshu's Sacred Land was purple and blue and black. The strong men of Wanku Mountain had not left yet, and they laughed happily when they saw that Tianshu's Sacred Land, who had just laughed at them, was defeated. How does it feel? I'm not strong enough, and I don't think you're much better. The Sacred Venerable of Sacred Land gnashed his teeth. His eyes seemed to be extinguished. Why are you still here? The old Sacred Venerable of Wanku Mountain said, waiting for you. I'm waiting for everyone to gather, and we'll go to the Xingqian Ancient Sect to seek justice. It's okay to secretly annex small sects, but now they're targeting us Sacred Lands. Do you think you are superior to other Sacred Lands? Tianshu's Sacred Land has the same idea as Wankushan. The Star Ancient Sect is famous for being fearless and stubborn. With only the 2 families, the Star Ancient Sect may not bow down. Do you think the Star Ancient Sect really did this? An old man in green came and spoke calmly. He is the old Sacred Venerable of the Eastern Ancient Clan, and was severely taught a lesson by the Star Traverser Ancestor not long ago. The reason for staying here is that the 2 great Sacred Lands have the same idea. With only the Eastern Ancient Clan, the Star Ancient Sect would not take it seriously at all. Wankushan's Sacred Venerable sneered coldly. Is it important? I only look at the result. Finding out the truth is what the Star Ancient Sect should do. As long as you give me enough compensation, Wankushan can forgive the past. Otherwise, Tianshu's Sacred Land Sacred Venerable said, that's right. If he feels wronged, he can investigate it himself. Chapter 65, Part 2. We only care about the treasures in the Imperial Mausoleum. Of course, he will have to give an explanation. If the real murderer can't be found, he will have to bear the blame. He can become the ancestor of Jidao Sacred Land and achieve the position in the late Han Dynasty, who is not a former prodigy, so his wisdom is naturally not low. This matter felt wrong from the beginning, but that doesn't matter, and they don't care about being used as a gun. Anyway, they want to get back their own treasures. Xingqian Ancient Sect must bear this blame. Otherwise, they can find out the person behind it, and they can accept it. This blame must be taken by the human world. Soon, they ushered in a sedan chair, which was the law treasure of Yaoqi Sacred Land, and the Yaoqi female saint sat in it. The old sacred of the Eastern Ancient Clan Venerable was surprised. Even the female saint of Yaoqi was not spared? It seems that the other party is not soft or hard, and will not give any face. Boom. Suddenly, 1,000,000 miles away, the divine power was mighty, and a mirror shone with divine light and rushed into the sky. Kunlun Temple and the other party have started fighting. The Grand Palace Master had arrived at the top of the mountain where Chu Tian was standing. Not long after, True Spirit also came back, and only Dao Yinzi had not yet appeared. The Grand Palace Master said, the old ancestor Shuwu went to intercept the people of Kunlun Temple. They carried divine weapons with them and were very careful. Divine weapons of several apex-level sacred lands such as Wanku Mountain, Tianshu Sacred Land, and Yaoqi. When the Emperor's mausoleum no longer needed divine weapons to open the passage, they returned to their respective sacred lands on their own. But Kunlun Temple was particularly cautious and did not do this. specially arranged people to wait outside with divine weapons, waiting for the strong men who entered the emperor's mausoleum to return. True Spirit said, the origin of this Kunlun palace is unknown. The ancestors came from other star domains. It is estimated that the old ancestor Shiwu will have to go through some trouble. These sacred venerables of Sacred Land are too old. The Dharma ending age has restricted their cultivation, and most of them remain at the initial third level of the Holy Venerable Realm. The Grand Palace Master and True Spirit Taoist both nodded. Indeed, even with the profound foundation of Sacred Land, in the Dharma ending age, they can only barely cultivate sacred venerables, and this is already the limit. The third level of the Holy Venerable Realm has almost become an insurmountable end. The Grand Palace Master looked at the fluctuations of divine power in the sky. I wonder which level the Ancestor is stuck in? 3 days later, the fluctuations of divine power disappeared, and around the Imperial Mausoleum, several strong men from the Kunlun Palace returned with dark faces. Glancing at the other Sacred Land sacred venerables with different expressions, he said unhappily, "What are you looking at?" In the Sun and Moon Temple, the Sun and Moon sect leader paced back and forth, his head as big as a bucket, his brows furrowed, and his face gloomy. Just now he learned that the Xinglua Patriarch united other strong men in the sect, intercepted all those who came out of the Imperial Mausoleum. Borrow things from people as soon as you see them, not only the treasures in the Imperial Mausoleum, but also all the valuable things on the body. Ordinary people are fine, the Xingqian ancient sect doesn't care. But even the major apex-level sacred lands were not spared. Even the strong men of the ancient races were tricked. Who did it? The pressure of Semi-Saint gathered around the Sun and Moon sect leader. The power of the Sun and the Moon filled the entire temple. He squinted his eyes and pondered the root of the problem. Xinglua Patriarch is dead, and others don't know about it. But someone is using the banner of Xinglua Patriarch to openly intercept. The Sun and Moon sect leader whispered, "So, this person is in the same group with the mysterious black-robed man. It's really an organization that has set its sights on our Xingqian ancient sect and is trying every means to harm us. Damn it! Who is it?" The Sun and Moon sect leader became more and more angry, but he couldn't get an answer. In his mind, he sorted out the forces that he had offended or eliminated in recent years. Lihua sect, Zhongyang sect, Luo Shui Xianzong, Tiandi Jingyi sect, Shengma Mountain? No, although some of these sects have hidden their strength. But judging from the strength shown by the black-robed man and his companions, I'm afraid it's not weaker than Sacred Land. Could it be? The Sun Moon sect leader looked at the direction of Heavenly Jade Sacred Land with angry eyes. Is it this hypocritical force? Their Star Ancient sect may be called villains. They will do tricks in secret. Many people know that the Star Ancient sect is not very good. But the Heavenly Jade Sacred Land that many people admire is the real bad in his opinion. I don't know since when, the Star Ancient Church was suddenly accused of destroying other sects and was scolded privately. In fact, these sects were not destroyed by them at all. Zero, please give me flowers. Zero, someone destroyed them and threw dirty water on the Star Ancient sect. This happened more than once. After many times, the Star Ancient sect could no longer bear it. It's okay for 1 or 2 times. After all, they do this kind of thing. There is no point in explaining. But you throw dirty water every time. Isn't it too much? Do you think we are soft persimmons? Finally, after a thorough investigation, they found that behind the destruction of almost all major sects, there was the shadow of Heavenly Jade Sacred Land. Heavenly Jade Sacred Land also did a lot of dark and evil things. Even some disasters were caused by Heavenly Jade Sacred Land. They personally came forward to clean up the disasters they created, but won the praise of the world. Secretly, the Star Ancient Sect and Heavenly Jade Sacred Land, the 2 giants of Daxu, have been competing. However, after he succeeded to the throne and the new Saint Lord of Tianxian came to power, such things gradually became less. The 2 new Saint Lords seem to have some kind of tacit understanding. But now it seems that tacit understanding is nothing. The other party is holding back a big move. It's going to disgust him to death. The recent series of events has caused heavy losses to the Star Ancient Sect, and a Saint Venerable Level died. A Semi-Saint Venerable Level also died, and the Great Elder of the 9th layer of the Dao Realm also died. Damn it, is it really you? Saint Lord Tianxian. The Sun Moon sect leader has been feeling very frustrated recently, with eyes full of resentment. He wanted to tear off the clothes of Heavenly Jade Sacred Land to see if they did it. At this time, a hurried voice came. Sister, Wangku Mountain, Kunlun Temple, Yaoqi Sacred Land, Tianshu Sacred Land, Jinwang Clan, Dongfang Ancient Clan, are visiting. Upon hearing this, the Sun Moon sect leader's head became even bigger, and one wave after another came. Even Semi-Saint has been feeling exhausted recently. Zero, he said, go and invite the old ancestor of Fancheng. On the top of the mountain, the figure of Dao Yinzi walked out of the void, dressed in a green shirt, elegant and unrestrained. Chapter 65, Part 3. He looked like a teenager, with a smile on his lips, revealing a unique self-confidence. True Spirit was delighted to see Daoinzi, and said, "Uncle Master, how is it?" Daoinzi raised his lips and said, "We haven't robbed all the treasures of Kunlun Palace yet. With Xinglua's strength, it is not enough to snatch the treasures from Kunlun Palace, which has already used divine weapon. I stole 2 treasures, disgusted them, and then escaped with serious injuries." Hearing this, True Spirit and the Grand Palace Master smiled happily. As expected of the Ancestor, he has great skills, first-class acting skills, and no mistakes. "Your harvest is not bad, right?" Daoinzi asked. "Hee." The Grand Palace Master and True Spirit smiled at each other and said proudly, "Everything is under control? Is this the current Palace Master of Zizai Palace?" Daoinzi looked at Chu Tian behind them. His eyes narrowed slightly, and a gleam of brilliance flashed in the depths of his pupils. Chu Tian performed the etiquette of a junior and said, "Meet the Ancestor. I am the 82nd Palace Master of Zizai Palace, Chu Tian." "Well, your grandfather mentioned you to me," Daoinzi said with a smile, walked to Chu Tian, circled around him 3 times, nodded and said, "As expected of you from Zizai Palace. These hands look delicate and tender. It must be painful to hit someone." Daoinzi picked up Chu Tian's palm, touched it, and pinched it. Thinking of the scene of being kicked in the butt before, he wanted to kick Chu Tian. "I can't beat your elders, but can't you give up a junior?" 13213. Daoinzi suppressed the thought in his heart. After all, as an elder, he couldn't do such an unruly thing. Seeing Daoinzi retract his hand, Chu Tian secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He had just noticed that this old ancestor wanted to teach him a lesson. Why? Is it because of Grandpa and them? Chu Tian only saw Grandpa once when he was born. The old man came out of the ancestral mausoleum specifically to see this eldest grandson. His name was given by Grandpa, Chu Tian, meaning the incarnation of a dragon, ascension to the realm of the holy demon. Chu Tian looked into the distance, keenly feeling that the profound level in the netherworld was approaching them. Swish. Daoinzi lightly tapped his finger, and the mysterious clue broke and disappeared. He smiled faintly and said, "It was him." The Grand Palace Master and True Spirit Taoist did not notice the mysterious clue just now. This means that the person who took action was far higher than them. True Spirit asked, "Master Uncle, what do you mean?" Daoinzi said, "On the way back just now, I met a person who was similar to us." Chu Tian and others looked at him in confusion. Someone who looked like them? What does this mean? Chu Tian's eyes flashed with light, and he said, "Grandmaster, are you talking about the way of Go?" After hearing this, the Grand Palace Master and others showed an interested expression. There are actually quite a few people who practice the way of Go in this world, but not many gather together. He who can attract Daoinzi's attention must be an extraordinary person. On the way back just now, I felt the breath of a treasure on a semi-saint and wanted to steal it. Daoinzi didn't keep it a secret and said directly, "I didn't expect that the other party was actually a saint venerable level, hiding several realms."
Thank you for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card or directly on my channel. As always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd also appreciate your thoughts on the ad experience in this video. Let me know in the comments below.